Yeah.
Yep.
So, Yellow Lantern, Geeky, it is, of course, Friday the 19th. It is 10 minutes after 9 o'clock on the West Coast. And it is, of course, time for Coast to Ghost, episode 110. Lots of things happen. The FBI guilty of bias and being weaponized, which isn't really news to any of us that have been paying
Imagine my
attention.
shock.
Yeah, I know. Imagine everyone's shocked. This is news to literally anyone that wasn't paying attention or living in a cave. However, for the rest of us, yeah, we know. Other news, Daniel Perry has raised $2 million off the goodwill of others to fight for his legal defense. Optimistic.
Shout out to Tim Pool for donating $2,000 to that, by the way.
Yeah, good for Tim Pool, you know? It's like, put your own money, put his money where his mouth is, you know? Like, hey, you know, this guy is objectively in the right, and, you know, good for him.
Yeah.
You'll love to see it. But other than that, the damning Durham report is out, and the FBI is exactly what you think they are. You know, secret police for our fascist government, and, you know, the thugs of the regime. Shocking absolutely nobody that has been paying attention the last 7 years? God, how many years has it been? I guess since the Patriot Act, really. But yes, we are here. We are here. We're still alive. Somehow.
Yep. And none of us have gone to jail, even though we've said so many
Nope, we're not going to jail.
Should.
Nope, we are fine. We're gonna make it, boys. We're not going to jail. So Geeky, how's your week been? Have things been going for you? You having a good time?
I'm having a great time seeing the Celtics in misery due to Jimmy Buckets.
Yeah, geez.
But...
You know, honestly, that is a really Jimmy Butler's story is honestly really uplifting. I know people are like, he was homeless. I'm like, no. Jimmy Butler was not homeless, okay? His mother was homeless, so he was consequentially homeless, okay? Like, it's still a shit situation, and good for him making the best of it, but his parents made him homeless.
Yeah, and I'm also mad at the Lakers for not getting him, and I'm also I'm going to tell you this right now: Tobias Harris over me. You picked that. I can't repeat that on screen.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe it, Philly. And so to punish management for picking
Tobias
Harris over that, they have done the sensible thing and fired Doc Rivers.
Okay, I'm going to say this right now. As an NBA person, as someone who's been watching basketball since 1998, I'm going to say this right now. Doc Rivers was never a good coach. I'm so sick and tired of this people saying Doc Rivers is top 10 coach of all time. No, he's an overrated coach.
He won one championship. That's kind of why I'm like, yeah, on a great Celtics team, but like, I don't know. I think people are overestimating how good Doc Rivers actually is.
Yeah, the guy who won the championship for the Pistons in 2002 is a better
that was ridiculous.
Coach than Doc Rivers.
That was a ridiculous series. Have either of you had any opportunity to read any of the Durham report?
No, I have not. I just saw the big headlines, and I saw that Russia just banned Obama from ever entering the country, which is kind of hilarious.
They banned former President Obama from entering the country? What?
Yes. That is
so everything. I mean, yeah, the Durham report, the highlights is basically things we've already known.
We've all
The
known,
FBI,
and makes no recommendations of like, oh, hey, okay, this is all good and all, but like, are you gonna do anything? And then crickets, Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, what can you do if the people in charge of the government are not exactly going to be willing to prosecute themselves?
Are you telling me that the fourth estate of government, the intelligence branch, and the executive bureaucracy that's permanently entrenched would possibly do things to protect their job from oversight and actual accountability? That's impossible.
Just a hunch. I mean, managerialism isn't exactly defeated at the ballot box.
It's fascism, my friend. It's absolute fascism. Did you see what Bank of America did? Bank of America was asked for records from people that had made purchases around January 6th. Did they fight back, or did they absolutely go do exactly what the state told them to do? Even though it was illegal for them to ask for that, by the way.
Good thing I closed my Bank of America account then.
Yep. Oh, and also, you want to be even more egregious. They not only did that, but they were like, oh, we'll prioritize sending you people that had made gun purchases. So, violating the Fourth Amendment, trying to violate the Second Amendment through their actions. So, yes, they, the corporations immediately bowed to the government when the government asked them to do something that is outside their purview and illegal. At least in a limited republic, which is what we're supposed to be, is that these branches are supposed to have limited power. But, thus is thus.
Yes,
Yeah.
because in practice, I mean, it's what people like James Lindsay don't also get when he was praising the Constitution, unaware that due to civil rights law, it might as well be dead. Because
yes. Civil rights definitely did turn the Constitution on its head and has destroyed a lot of the normal protections that we had in it. That was the point, obviously. Now we could be more of a Lincoln Republic, Lincoln style government. More Hamiltonian style government.
Damn, I lost my Yoshi.
But yes, that's where we are. Thanks to cowardly politicians. Shockingly, isn't it, that cowardly politicians have caused most of our problems? Because wasn't it the Civil Rights Act was passed after Martin Luther King died, right? A bunch of people rioted, and politicians just wanted the riots to stop.
No, it was after Kennedy got shot.
Well, I think I should point out that there was a riot that did happen after the acts were passed, and it was...
I thought the riots happened after Martin Luther King was assassinated.
That is true.
Right, there were riots after Martin Luther King was assassinated, and then the Civil Rights Act magically passed.
No, the Civil Rights Act passed in '63 after Kennedy died.
There was a lot of race riots that still happened.
Yeah, but I believe it was specifically the Martin Luther King riots that got it passed.
The '69 one? Oh, because there's two of them technically. There's the one of '69 and the one of '63.
Yes, the '69 one passed after King's murder.
You guys are... No offense, you guys. You're actually getting some of the chronology backwards. It was the 65 and 64 Civil Rights Acts.
Was it? When was King assassinated? Wasn't it 65?
No, he was assassinated in 1968.
Yeah, I was going to say King was like 68 or 69.
I don't know. I don't really hold him up as like a venerable figure, so I don't remember these dates too much.
Well,
and I just know Kennedy died at 63, and Bobby died at 65, right?
But was Kennedy alive in '69?
Bobby Kennedy?
Yeah.
I did remember when Razorfist Video made a funny joke on Leak, and he's like, he was very amnesic, just at the time, amnesic just as you don't ask Bobby Kennedy the night of what happened at...
Oh, was it Bobby or wasn't it Ted? The guy who let the hooker die in the car?
Yeah, Ted Kennedy, the night in Rapid Creek. Yeah.
Wasn't Ted the cripple one?
No, that was in someone else.
Ted's
in the
one
family.
who killed the lady by not helping her because he didn't want to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I'll get in trouble. This isn't my wife that's here.
Wait, so which one was the cripple then?
That was someone else.
I thought there was a Kennedy that was a cripple, and that might have been one of his kids.
Recall exactly. I don't exactly recall.
Yeah.
But
there's also.
But where in general are we is what I'm trying to figure out. What do you guys think happens next? Because
we got the 2024 race coming, and rumors is that Chris Christie's about to make an announcement.
Okay, but you know anyone that even knows Chris Christie is running for president?
Apparently, the owner of the Mets does, because he's backing him.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the owner of the Mets would back someone that he knows is going to lose? I don't believe you, Geeky. This is absurd. The Mets only pick winners, okay? They never, ever... You've
I
got to
don't
be kidding me.
know.
I know
They
you
thought
can't
that'd be
make this
great. They
story
had a
up.
closer. They had a closer named Edwin Diaz, but he's blown so many games. People call him Ed Lose Diaz.
I'm legitimately. Come on, the
I'm
owner.
not making this up.
The owner of the Mets is backing a man that he knows will not win the presidency. Come on, that's too funny for words, Kiki. That's
Yeah. I mean,
no. this is.
So
I mean, like I already said, 2024. I thought 2020 was going to be a shit show in like presidency, but now 2024 is going to be the best shit show for politic nerds like me when it comes to these debates and everything.
This is. That's so. God, I'm literally shocked. I just don't understand why. Why would he? Why would he choose Chris Christie of all people? That Chris Christie has such a well-established record of being insanely popular in national politics. He can fill an entire stadium full of people. He could eat an entire McDonald's of food by himself. I mean, like, imagine what he could do on the national stage.
Hey, I mean, we have that going on. We have the drama with Nick.
Look, obviously Chris Christie can't win because, heavyweight Nikki Haley is going to just absolutely BTFO him because everyone cannot wait to vote for Nikki Haley.
Wait,
right?
have we gone over the rate of the candidates yet that have been declared? I feel like this is going to be.
There's no point. I mean, like, either they arrest Donald Trump or Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee. That's pretty much it.
So
No, there's some pretty heavy hitters.
No,
this
I'm
time.
telling
Come
you
on.
right now, like, I talked to serious people about this, like, it's Donald Trump running against himself, basically. Alvin Bragg is the only one, and even he has a flimsy-ass case.
Come on, Ghost. You don't believe in Larry Elder for president?
Larry Elder's not running for president, seriously. We would hear more about that.
like, there is no one else. It's either
Literally, all the air in the room is just Donald Trump. It's like that.
Well, DeSantis is suspected to make his announcement on Monday.
DeSantis, has been imploding, and because he's just, he's been showing who he really is. He's the establishment's attempt to create a more palatable Ted Cruz or Jeb Bush, and when he gets under pressure, he folds, like.
Yeah, and think about this. He's so busy running a shadow that his home city, Jacksonville, the Democratic mail.
Yeah, he lost Jacksonville because he's busy globe-trotting around the world running for president when what Florida needed was a mayor candidate. And he was just like, nah, I gotta go meet world leaders, rub elbows with important people. You little people in Florida, just wait, man, then I'll be president.
And then he lost the Disney University contract. I mean, for going after them and cost him over $1 billion in revenue.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the dream rhino, dream neocon candidate. He's the Trojan horse, and it's like
I would prefer. I would say if
I would prefer him
was
be in Florida. He seems to be doing a good job in Florida, and I think. Maybe in 10, 20 years, he might be ready for, the national stage, but, like...
I mean, this would be with Abbott. Honestly, I don't think Abbott should even run for president.
No, I agree with that. Abbott should not run for president. Abbott's got to pardon that guy. He's got a lot of shit he's got to take care of first. But,
like busing more migrants to Chicago and New York.
Like, look, that's all fun for, epic poning the libs, putting their own consequences of their action in their backyard. But,
just deport them. Just send them back.
It would be nice if he would actually just
you're giving him
He's
to
in
people.
charge of the National Guard. I mean, he can deploy them how he sees fit.
But does he have deportation powers or only
Yes.
Biden?
Yeah, he's allowed. He can define defending the state of Texas however he wants. He's the executive. He has the leeway to do that.
I think also because if he tries to deport them, they're just going to come back. So he's like, what's the point of doing this?
No, I mean, they will. But, the more difficult you make it for people to invade your country, the the less likely they are. You know, I mean, they gotta pay for gas, they gotta pay to get smuggled. I mean, like these aren't like insanely wealthy people. They're not poor, but they're not like, you know.
No, it goes. They're pretty much dirt poor.
No, not all
I
of
should
them.
know. I deal with
Come
them at
on,
work.
you're telling me those guys with iPhones and Galaxies are all poor?
Ghost, let me tell you something real quick. That's provided by the government. I'm
Well,
not even
okay,
joking you.
yes, the U.S. government is giving them free phones because the judge forced them. You have to give them a court date, which I suppose, you know, it's good, but
And the
you do
government's
love
idea is to
seeing
give
it.
them
It's like, by the way, the U.S. government can't afford to help you or clean up homeless people on your streets, but we can afford to give these criminals free phones.
Oh, not even just free phones. Depends on what country you come from. You get you're automatically get enrolled to Medicare, Medicaid.
Haven't we had like a bunch of like actual terrorists coming into the southern border because it's just easier to do that?
Wait, are we having Afghani fucks come in through there?
Oh yeah, people from China, people from Afghanistan, people from all over are just coming in
I heard
because it's
of-
like, you know.
I heard India, like there's because I saw a video of this YouTuber who went to the actual visit the border, and they were asking everyone, "Oh, where are you coming from?" It's like, "Oh, India, Ecuador, Venezuela."
I did like the one CNN report. They're like, "Why are you here?" Well, Title 42 expired, yo. That's why I'm here. And like, stop the interview. cut the film. Like they were like, "Oh shit, bro." Like that literally happened in real time, and it was fucking hilarious because it was like, "Oh, why are you here?" Because Title 42 expired. The border's open, bro. What have you not been paying attention?
Well, did you also hear? I forgot which person this official said this, but he was like, "Why are we deporting people who want jobs when there's jobs in America?" And I'm like, "Do you know why nobody's coming to work right now, sir? Because you decided to put everybody on welfare, and now they don't want to go back to work."
Are you telling me, Geeky, that people would rather just take free money than work?
I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's times where I miss that unemployment money.
But Geeky, what you have to understand is that there's a universal magic of working really hard. Really working hard.
Yes,
that
yes,
just makes
Ghost,
you
I
feel
heard-
all tingly in your stomach. You know, you just feel so great watching people get free food, free shelter, free cell phones, and you just think, man, I'm so glad that this 9 to 6 job I'm working is making sure that this person can afford all this free shit from my tax dollars, and then borrow more money, and then my tax dollars have to pay to service this debt that's gonna eat and build up more and more and more. And then I think, you know what the real loser in this, Geeky, the real issue that's gonna change people's minds is that the important shit, sending money to Ukraine, will be threatened if our debt situation gets out of control. We
Oh,
cannot.
it has.
We have to make sure that we do not miss sending a single check to our true president, Vladimir Zelensky. Okay, we cannot miss a single dime
By the way,
of
who
support
is
to
going to the G1 summit in Japan?
talk about not nuking people.
Yeah, and also, every time I think of money to Ukraine, I just think of that Freedom Tombs bit that Seamus posted, where it's like they just put Zelensky as a streamer, and it's Biden trying to get recognized, but doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, well, people actually want to talk to him for some reason. You know, he seems like he's actually important and holds some sway. Maybe they think he's going to be around a bit longer than Joe. I don't know.
Yeah, but
Did you, speaking of decrepit creatures, did you guys see Miss Feinstein return to the Senate? But according to Mrs. Feinstein, she never left. Did you see that, Yellow Lantern?
Yeah.
I've been working
she,
the whole time.
did
ma'am,
you also see?
you've
Did y'all
been in-
see how incredibly sexist she's been saying that they've been calling for her to resign?
was that her defense?
Yes.
Ma'am, you told us you've been working the whole time and you were verifiably in the hospital for a stroke, basically.
I mean, relax. She's retiring this year. Then we're gonna get replaced with another whack job. That's
I do, you know, any voters in 2024, you know, I want to remind everyone, whenever you hear Mitch McConnell saying candidate qualities, the #1 issue, I want to remind you, Dianne Feinstein and John Fetterman are both sitting U.S. senators. So no, candidate quality is just saying I didn't like them and I didn't support them. That's what when Mitch McConnell says candidate quality, he means they don't do exactly what I tell them, and therefore I will not support them and would rather the opposition win. Because I make money regardless of if I'm in power or not. Like that's what they mean when they say candidate quality. Candidate quality has never mattered, not even once.
Ghost, have you seen Fetterman's interview style?
Well, I mean,
on
like the whole
set?
thing with isn't the whole thing with John Fetterman that his wife wants to be senator and he's kind of just the placeholder for now. Basically, that Fetterman's going to be declared incompetent and then they'll appoint his wife.
Well, the problem with that is that Fetterman's wife legally cannot be senator yet.
Wait, what? Explain this to me, because I have not heard about this. Please explain.
So Fetterman's wife was born in Brazil.
But you don't have to be a U.S. citizen to be a senator. You have right?
She doesn't
No.
even have resident status.
Oh,
Oh,
because you can't. Yeah. So, yeah, he basically took a Brazilian wife. Or
He took a
something.
mail
I mean, there's some
bride.
very attractive ladies in Brazil. I'm gonna be honest, but
I mean, there's a reason why they win like Miss Universe all the time. I mean, well, most South American women do. I mean,
Well,
have you seen them?
It's kind of funny is that they they actually had to hold like a bunch of separate beauty pageants because of the people with mostly Armenian ancestry versus those with mixed or European ones.
Well, also he has to trap check a lot of Brazilian women too. Unfortunately,
no, that's overestimated. I'm sure. I'm sure that's overstated. I mean, yes, that's no. I don't believe that.
you don't believe that they trap check them in Brazil when Brazil has a really high
I
population.
don't think it's that hard to check. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, I mean,
Hey, they're number one in plastic surgery for a reason, you know.
really, I thought Korea was.
Well, them in Thailand.
Okay, well, I thought South Korea was number one in plastic surgery. Is my data?
It might
out
be.
of date?
It might be getting plastic surgery. I can believe that, but I think Brazil.
Like
'cause-
what per capita? Like I'm not sure.
I don't know. I have to relook at this, but I just remember Brazil was like really good at plastic surgery for a while. Like I was.
Well, I
hearing,
feel
like,
I
oh,
think
yeah.
it's like the whole thing with Brazil is that like people go there to get it because it's more affordable. You know, kind of like people go to like Thailand or lower cost countries to get surgery because they don't charge an arm and a leg because they can't. No.
That is very true. I hear like medical service. I even hear like medical service in like Colombia's pretty cheap.
No, it is. I mean, it's out of control here because our doctors, unions, and the pharmaceutical industry and medical industry hold an inordinate amount of power in determining what
Yeah,
you're going to pay at
mean,
the hospital.
I mean, I may hate Fidel Castro, but the one good thing he did was make that healthcare pretty cheap.
Well, I don't know,
Even
Geeky. I mean,
for
how many
foreigners.
Cubans do we see fleeing free healthcare and free education and free lead? I mean, like
Free lead.
I'm just saying, like, what? Oh, come on, they've got some sort of utopia there, don't they, Geeky? I mean, why are they
imagine-
all fleeing?
They say free healthcare, but I'm like, imagine if it was actually good quality. Like, imagine if Cuba wasn't a communist country and
Oh
had,
god, I would be living there right now, honestly.
yeah,
It's a
Of
nice
course, in
place.
my-
It's good weather, you can see classic cars everywhere.
The
You know,
Cuban
I-
women,
I
the
joke-
food.
in a better timeline, it's very likely Cuba is part of the Confederate States, much as a state.
Why
You
would
wish.
they do that? Is what I'm trying to understand. Like, I mean, they basically lived under like the Soviet Union's like umbrella. I mean, like for a
Wait,
long
you
In my-
serious?
time.
well, yeah.
Are you serious right now? You're saying that Cuba would have joined the Confederates willingly?
Well, I mean, the Confederacy might have just bought
But
it
why?
from Spain.
But how
Well,
long? When was Cuba
investments.
independent, though? Like, what's the time?
Cuba didn't become independent till the Spanish-American War, and on top of that too, you think they would have replaced the Spanish with the Americans being ruled under? There's no chance in hell the Cubans would have done that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Well-
understand. Like, what sparked Cuban independence
like-
anyway? Wasn't it American meddling anyway? Probably.
Yeah, have you met Cubans? How prideful they are, how much they will not take crap. There's a reason why they're really good boxers. Like, there's no way they would have joined. You would have just enslaved them all in the end anyways.
I don't know if they've enslaved
Not
them,
possible.
but
Not really. So there's a lot of speculation on alternate histories, and most see a couple states in the Caribbean joining the South. You know, they'd either join as like territory acquired from purchasing
I think you
the colonies.
overestimate
Well,
the
yeah, I think you're
South's,
overestimating the
you're
power of the
overestimating
Confederacy.
their political influence, even with, even decoupling from the Union. Like,
I mean, they
There's a
failed
lot
in the
of- yeah,
diplomacy department. That's why they lost.
Well, it wasn't just diplomacy. As I said, the reasons the South was not able to overcome was, strategic blunders in planning, a few very bad luck, losing some good generals, and also the inability to, deal with the overwhelming resources. Like, even if I would imagine, let's say the Confederacy took Claiborne's proposal in 1864 immediately and managed to mobilize like 300,000 Negro slaves into the army. I would
Can we
imagine
say
they
that
probably
on YouTube?
but why would they fight for them? Like, I understand that the North was no, paradise of, racial justice and harmony, but like,
Yeah, they sent them back to Liberia.
like I don't,
Well,
why, like
mm,
what connection to that? Like, you're saying, like, what, the Chechen plan? Just send Chechens to kill Ukrainians or something? Like, what's the what's the idea?
Or the
like-
Dagestanis, you know?
Like,
Well,
what's the plan there? The Mongolian, brigades,
It's
commit
not- guys,
atrocities against the
guys,
North with people
guys.
that aren't ethnically aligned with them.
We're-
Like, is that the plan?
we're not talking about Ukraine, Russia. We're not.
No, I
not
know,
talking
but I
about
mean
that.
that's
Well,
what
no,
it
no,
sounds. But I'm saying that's what
yeah.
it sounds like to me.
So-
Send people that don't ethnically align with them, so that you hope they commit worse atrocities, which is what
Yeah, I mean,
Russia's
is
doing.
it Ghost
with-
Ghost haven't you admitted
Chechens.
you're descended from people like that?
Well, no, I'm descended from Hessians. We were mercenaries that were sent in by the British to kill Americans, and then decided to fight for America because they paid more. We are a proud people of money grubbers. Okay, we switch
So-
sides for the most honorable reasons of all, because they paid us more, and we didn't really want to go back to Germany. We weren't even people there. We weren't citizens.
I mean, Germany didn't exist at the time, though. You guys were still Prussia, right?
Hey, thanks.
Well, so this is the point. So Claiborne, well, I've actually read a lot of books on like the motivations, because the South did utilize blacks and free and slave in the military in various parts, from backups to auxiliary to running wagons, teamsters, running the ammo wagons and
But
whatnot.
you understand how morale works, right?
If you want to look at, or they were basically what, Beta Squad from South Park, the movie, you know?
No,
if,
they're
you
back.
guys,
So,
if you guys have seen that infamous scene where what they
but
did
combat
to them.
so
But
Good
like, then who
probably
would run their agriculture if they sent them to the front lines? Like, that just seems like there's an imbalance there,
Well, they wouldn't
right?
take-
It's not like they have like a labor class of additional laborers to replace their slave labor. Like, well, you just be unable to feed and clothe your army because your textiles have to stop and your agriculture has to stop because you have to pillage your farms for their labor. Like, what are even
Yeah,
the
that's-
logistics?
that's
That doesn't
great for
sound
morale.
practical.
well,
Yeah, that's
so
great for morale, you know? Like, let's just get the farmers to go fight, have nobody farm anymore.
Yeah, like what? Like
Well, it
because
had
their
to be-
slaves
they're not
gave them
gonna just-
labor to run their farms, while their fighting age men were out in the field, right? Like,
Well, so the plan was something like, so they would send recruitment boards, because like I said, we're not just talking about we're not just they'll like see like who was the most capable of fighting, who would be the most able, and like which one
but I
could,
mean,
like,
this delusion kind of illustrates how bad central planning is, because like, I mean, just you could think about it for 5 seconds. Like, wait, who the hell's gonna run the fields?
Yeah.
Like, what are you just gonna have all the wives and daughters run the fields? Like, was that the
not
plan?
all of them. They were probably well, like I said, this was again that bad strategic planning. I would argue that if the South were to act, if they put this plan into action, it would have to have been in like 1862,
I
when
don't
they
think
were
it would
able
ever
to.
have worked. It sounds like a terrible idea.
Well,
Like-
it would be decentralized and on the local levels first, because there were states that had already authorized black troops to run, like Tennessee, North Carolina, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. They all were doing it on the local level, but for the national government to wait
But I
until
mean,
like
this is their
4
field
months.
labor. Like, I just don't see who you
Well,
replace that field labor with. It's the slave trade was slowing down at that time too, right?
Slave trade was done at that point.
the
Right?
slave trade was illegal. Well,
Yeah.
okay, so
Wasn't it
you
like how
have
you wouldn't be able to just replenish the fields
okay.
with a couple boats? I mean,
So
I
this
mean,
is how.
what you could have done is technically like go get the Haitians
well, I
because
mean,
you couldn't import them from Africa, right? That was what the whole slave trade rule was, or it was like slaves from any country.
Slaves from any country. The Confederacy made it pretty clear that they said not only X on the African slave trade, they also made it illegal for uh, states to sell, like the United States, to sell slaves into the Confederacy. They said no. So, like, if a Union slave state, like this was back when
so
the
the interesting
Confederacy
part
had
was one of
7
the states
states.
that they brought back in the Union. They brought it back as a slave state, right?
Yeah,
Was
Yeah,
it
so
West Virginia? I think.
yeah. Yeah, so there were basically 5 slave states, then 6 who stayed in the Union: Missouri, Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. Now, New Jersey was technically a quote unquote free state, but it ended slavery by making all the blacks basically apprentices for life. So they were all like, all black labor was written in terms of apprenticeship. But even then, many free states, as we all know, basically passed laws that forbid blacks from settling there, or even fine
That's like
them.
Oregon and a couple other
Yeah,
the
Ohio,
frontier states
Indiana,
too.
Illinois. Like, there's a lot of controversy about people kind of looking into, like, why couldn't the South just let, when they free, just send all the free slaves and freedmen to the North? And like, well, the North really didn't like them.
Well, I mean,
And
also, like, the reason why most people couldn't free their slaves is they didn't own their slaves.
Yeah, but the banks
Technically.
did.
Like, Benjamin Franklin wanted to free his slaves. His problem was the bank owned them.
That was the point too, Jefferson as well, because slaves were counted as part of the estate's property. So if you took out a loan to buy your
The bank
like a
owned
thing,
them.
yeah.
The bank had a lien on that person's life, so it's like, it wasn't, even if the individual wanted to free them, they didn't have the right to do that. It wasn't their property.
Correct. And there also another point is that if you wanted to, so the lender at the bank, so if your property was in debt, you technically didn't own the slaves. You only owned their labor, which was how laws worked
You even
back
own
then.
their
Like,
labor?
yeah, that's actually the point. That's actually how traditional positive law slavery worked. You owned their labor.
The
Therefore,
bank owned the person, or whoever what do you call it, the creditor.
the bank owns the estate because people's labors were tied to their lands. So if the bank owns the labor, he owns you and your slave's labor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I also this was the the point I think mobilized. So because I've done the research and demographics of how many of each fought. So because I
But I
came
mean,
up with
just
at
logistics of taking your entire labor force and trying to,
Not
go
all
to
of them.
plow. No, I know, but try to go plowshares into swords. I mean, I don't think there was a ton of excess slave labor, right? I don't think people were like, I only need 10, but I've got 20, right? Most people would operate, I imagine, thinly with what they needed, not like, oh,
I'd
hey,
imagine
you know,
it's.
that.
I suppose it would be supported by, like, the officer corps. The master could come home to his plantation saying, "Hey, listen, I'm going to take Jerry, Benson,
Jamal.
Jack, Charisma, or just all these others, or like Samuel, Pierre, just all these. He's going to take the best, and he'll let the rest run the plantation as they go away."
Then you
And
take
this,
your most capable laborers and just throw them out in the field, basically. Throw them out in, like, a meat grinder where they're probably going to get killed. like how it is with like good workers, right? You have like 10% of your workers are your most efficient and effective workers, and like talk about people capable for battle. You're probably not gonna take your slow beast of burden slaves. You're probably gonna take your quick-witted ones that probably ensure that things run smoothly there. So then you lose even more efficiency, right? I don't know. This doesn't sound like a good
I mean,
idea.
then again, like I said, there's 3.5 million bonded people in the South in bondage.
Right, but I
So
mean, like, there's
I
a
would
force multiplier from having, competent people in your labor force, too.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why we cut all the unusables in the boot camp right now. Like, if you can't pass boot camp, you're not going in the armed forces.
Well, they're gonna have to lower those standards, Not as many people have been signing up lately. Not everyone wants to be, part of the experiment that may or may not happen in Eastern Europe, so on top of that,
Yeah, my
obesity's
friend's on that.
obesity's
my
out
friend's
of
on that.
obesity's out of control. I mean, I'm sure standards are going to continue lowering. Sure. But I see what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, then so this plan may have worked in a few if the Confederacy as well as the state
No,
did
it
it.
would have not.
I don't think it would have worked at all. Like, it
Yeah.
sounds like a bad idea. I mean, like the Union, a lot of their problems were just, top-down micromanagement from their leaders, like Lincoln.
I suppose it depends on there is a way to do it right. It would just require circumstances to be more different. Like
I
one
feel
of my
like there's.
friends
I
who
feel like
wrote
there's only a 1 in a million shot that the South would have won the war.
I would say their best chance was in 1862, and the situation wasn't hopeless until fall of 1864, where I mean, I read a book about the last hurrah, where it talked about the Battle of Prairie Springs, Franklin, Nashville, and just the fall of Fort Fisher. This was the last of all the, and it's a book that's pretty anti General Hood and General Bragg. The author makes the case that these two generals were among the worst of the Confederacies.
Also, if Stonewall Jackson never got killed by friendly fire, would have.
Well, him and Albert Sidney Johnston also not getting shot would also significantly change probably several battles' outcomes. And I would say, so yeah, the situation in the West, the Western theater of the war, was probably the reason that I think the South, their chance of winning was severely hampered because of the massive commands, the lack of the structure, because Lee and his generals and lieutenants, they knew how to run the operations in the Eastern theater, but not so much in the West, with a lot of mixed commands and just enmity. And it's a lot of people like Cleburne and Forrest were more vocal for their recognition. I think the odds of gaining independence and forcing a stalemate at the very best would have considerably improved the chances of a negotiated ceasefire and a negotiated peace, to which I would say the South gets its independence and also acknowledges the reality and basically will start gradually phasing out slavery by the 1870s and 1880s.
I mean, I do agree they would probably have phased out slavery eventually. I don't think that's an unreasonable take. I don't think it's a sustainable system long term. It's as labor saving devices have improved, and just the reality of it is you don't really need chattel labor.
I mean,
you reach a certain
to be
level
fair,
of
the only
efficiency.
reason why slavery exploded was because of the cotton gin.
Somewhat.
If the cotton gin was never invented, I think slavery would have been phased out a lot sooner.
Did it though? Why do you say that the cotton gin supported slavery continuing?
Oh, because if you think about it, the cotton gin was made. That's what made cotton. Cotton was more profitable than tobacco, and you need a lot more help. You could make bigger cotton fields with bigger help, and so you increase the need for demand. Because the reason why
if I've got a thresher, and if I've got a thresher and fertilizer, it's not the same degree, of labor required, when I've got heavy machinery I'm running.
Yeah, but they didn't
as-
have that at the time yet.
Yeah. But not too sure. But one of those things. We may never know, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think I would just say I think using taking away your field laborers to put them in the field. I don't know. That sounds like old 13th century European tactics. It doesn't sound like
I
a
think
great
it.
idea.
It also
I don't
feels like it gives a lot of issues for friendly fire.
I don't even. I mean, you could make that argument.
I would say it depends. Like there was already the Confederacy already did use. They put slaves in as backup troops and in auxiliary roles, building fortifications, manning batteries. I said driving wagons, and if battles came, commanders would frequently deputize them as soldiers, and they would take up arms. Like
Yeah,
this
but
happened a
like
lot.
the talk about bringing them en masse in the field, like that just seems like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face.
Well, I mean, it was talked about. Like I was reading
Like
a
it
book
doesn't
on
matter. Like
Claiborne's
take the
proposal.
human factor out of it completely. And it's still like, well, wait a minute, like. You're taking out of one pocket. You're trying to create by stealing from one pocket and filling another one. And the reality is you need both pockets. And if you have no food and your troops all starve, and your logistics aren't there, like what do you
Yeah,
do?
well, yeah, the logistics didn't favor the South, and so basically a lot of factors would have to go right. A lot of things, like for example, the South taking less casualties at certain battles,
That's what I
putting up
said. It's a 1 in a million shots. They would have won. But that
not
one
a
in
one
the
in a million. I think, like I said, the Confederacy was at flood tide in 1862, despite incursions into Tennessee and being chased out of the frontier in the Arizona Territory. But they still, it's because of the series of victories in the Eastern Theater that really gave the South its best shot for independence. That's what an author that I've met, Philip Lee, made an interesting argument about that, and that if they basically follow through with this enlistment and then eventually pass some kind of emancipation amendment, which laid out a plan for abolishing slavery, similar to how the Russian Tsar abolished serfdom in 1861. I think this would have given them the moral hurdle, and European powers would have been more willing to not only officially recognize the Confederacy, but also give it support.
Do you
but
think that what they were missing was
what
Europe?
what European power would have gave them support?
Oh, Britain and France, French, and yeah, this is what they would appeal to them because they'd be like, "Here, help us get rid of slavery. Recognize us. We'll be able to phase it out in a much better way. In exchange, you can help us." It's the same thing that happened with the American Revolution, except in case of it was the Spanish and the French and even the Russians who helped gain Americans' independence.
Okay, so you're telling me Napoleon III would have supported the South when he was too busy trying to conquer Mexico?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, he already had this person in Mexico, and the South kind of said, "Hey, listen, support us, and we'll back your Habsburg monarchy set up in Mexico."
Right.
There were some people who actually there were actually some states in the United Mexican States did actually consider joining the South, but Jefferson Davis realized we don't want to be at war with Mexico as well if we suddenly accept like some of the northern Mexican states into the South. We might engage in a war with them. Like one war at a time.
You're telling me Monterrey and Chihuahua would have joined the South?
Some people have, but I feel like the Confederacy would have to establish its independence first before it looked to maybe adding more states or territories. Well, anyway, let's get on to the other topics. There's just
Oh,
hypotheticals.
I mean, it's an
Well,
interesting it's interesting theory crafting, I'll say. I mean, but realistically, I don't. I think it's wishful thinking in some ways to be like, oh, don't worry, we'll just mobilize our labor force in this way, and it's gonna work out. I don't know.
And then we'll try to conquer the Caribbeans and the Hispanics and see what happens there. Good luck.
Yeah, but okay, what? So Daniel Penny has raised $2.5 million
Yes.
for his legal defense fund.
yeah, and people, they made this theatrics about the Michael Jackson impersonator's funeral, but a lot of people are just not that sympathetic to him. Especially
I can
since...
actually explain this to you because I know exactly what it is. The reality is this: people, no matter what you say, people don't like homeless people.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
I think that's 100% it. It's like
I think, and then the worst thing is this guy had a rap sheet, and he would, he
44
frequently
44 different arrests.
and he would frequently harass and even assault people, and even extort them for money when they wouldn't pay attention to him. And that was actually going. So apparently, eyewitnesses are saying that he was in the process of doing the same thing. He was harassing people, threatening them, getting mean in their faces. So Perry, he restrained him. He didn't put him in a 15-minute chokehold. It was only like 3 minutes. Let go when he was like, glad
he appeared to be putting him in a recovery position afterwards too.
Yeah, and also it's shown that he had two other guys also restrained him. There was a black guy, a Hispanic guy. They also restrained him because
there
they're like,
are some people out there that are pushing for jailing everyone there.
Yeah, I have seen that too. Where, they want to throw everybody in jail now.
Oh, you all need to be put in jail because this person died.
Well, with that logic, then should we throw the person who filmed the George Floyd murder?
Well,
I believe they
prison
tried to.
then?
I believe they
They
tried
no,
to
they-
jail
they-
that person.
No, they're doing the cops.
yeah, all the cops are, which it tells you
Well, the Asian one is the one that just got sentenced 15 years.
yeah. I mean, it's like I said, defund the local police and then fund a federalized political police.
Yeah,
Basically,
I mean, that
take over.
You are 100% correct. That is definitely the goal of the quote-unquote defund the police movement. Is to federalize the police force.
Ironically, we already have that in my state, and now they're defunding that, and now they're like, well, what do we do?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
We defund
either
this.
it's either we are sadly returning to that post-civil rights legal dysfunction that caused the crime wave and led to the
Oh, wait, I thought that
ethnic
was Joe
cleansing.
Blitzen's fault.
Mm-mm. The 90s crime bill was basically a stopgap measure that was a course correction, with the introduction of the mandatory minimum sentencing, the increase in police departments, and the cracking down on smaller crimes. It brought down the crime rate because in the 1970s to 80s, the murder rate for America was 10 or 11 per, what is it, 1,000 inhabitants? Is that how they calculate it, or is it 100,000?
Off 100,000.
Yeah. Again, that's pretty high. That's
Hello.
And if you break down demographics, it would be very high among the certain demographics that are often represented in such crimes. And from what we saw from the Rosedale book thread that Night Revision put out, these dysfunction in policies resulted in a basic ethnic cleansing of many cities and metropolitan areas of original communities and ethnic groups, where they were forced to move to the suburbs or exurbs, or they would either become victimized by a crime or even killed. And a lot of times it was just people, a lot of the victims of these crimes were elderly people who just weren't able to easily move away from such dangerous areas.
Okay.
There's other kind of things that are going, and the worst thing is people are uncritically saying that Danielle, is it Penny or Perry?
Penny.
Because Penny is the other.
Yeah.
Perry is the Marine who was like convicted on such BS charges that
Well,
Governor
originally
Abbott.
they let him off. This was, remind you, Mr. Alvin Bragg, the current hero of current hero of left-wing lawfare right now. He was out there and he was like, "Nope, seems fine, leave it alone." And then a bunch of people. This is Minecraft lick. And all of a sudden everyone's like, all of a sudden people are screaming at his office like, "Put this guy in jail. Make sure he is punished for this guy dying." And shockingly, he did bend to those requests, and now Mr. Perry is in legal jeopardy.
Oh, well, yeah, and there's the other. I said Daniel Penny.
Penny.
He was the Marine who was like a mob surrounded his vehicle. They all were like about, and the guy stuck an AK-47 in his face and he shot him.
That's the guy in Texas, right?
Yeah, the corrupt judge and DA sent him to 25 years, but Abbott and the rest of they're looking to pardoning this guy because they think there are serious issues with the case.
I mean, there are.
As well as, and he said like the jury as well as a judge do not have the right to nullify someone's ability to defend themselves.
That is correct.
That is correct. That's why Rittenhouse won.
Yes, well, but even then, we're at the point where basically going to trial itself is a punishment. I mean, that's the whole point. They want to make it so like it doesn't matter if like you're completely innocent of your charges. People will still assume you're guilty. It's like what happened with Michael Jackson after he was acquitted of
That's actually a very apt comparison to what's going what's going on. Like that's a really good comparison actually, because
I mean, it's like
he was convicted in the court of public opinion because
it's like what
they
Michael
wanted
Jackson,
the Beatles. I mean, but yeah, no, sorry.
It's like what Razor Fist talked about in his documentaries on his like very very excellent series. Just the fact that the media were out to get him, like and
it's because he let Macaulay Culkin sleep on his bed.
Well, no, that's another concoction that the prosecution said. So they said Michael Jackson said he sleeps in the same bed with his guys, but they point out like Michael Jackson's room was the size of a duplex. Like it was like a 2-story duplex where like somebody would sleep in one area and the other one. And so it was like it's like a giant cafeteria in a sense.
It's obviously it was meant to sound as incriminating as possible.
But they point out facts. Yeah, and see the thing is with Michael is that he became just very paranoid. A lot
Wouldn't
of
you?
Yeah, I mean,
like, are you kidding me? Like, if people try to fuck my life that bad, yeah, I might be a bit paranoid.
And the whole point was that he thought like Sony was trying to purposely let him.
The Beatles, I think is what the.
Yeah, so that's why Sony never defended him, or like never tried to, compared to other singers whose record labels will still like work with them despite like doing even worse stuff. Oh, yeah. And the point is with Michael Jackson, so like. And it didn't help that in that case, like the media were just uncritically reporting all the salacious testimonies that these witnesses said, and they never pointed out, like they never showed the defense's rebuttals, where all these witnesses that said Michael Jackson did this and this and that, they all crumbled under cross-examination. They were all found to be like liars or to have their testimonies be unreliable. And the big thing is that not only, I think is pointed out, like the Tom Mesereau, the lawyer for Jackson, he talked about how like the innocence of the 2005 case also destroyed the 1993 molestation accusations because of a certain law that I don't know if this still applies in California, but there was something called 1108 evidence, which is like the prior bad acts evidence. You know what I mean, Ghost?
Yeah, that sounds very familiar, but I wouldn't know it offhand.
Well, California law was one of the few states that allowed you could present evidence from prior bad acts if the like
as
didn't
evidence
have to
that
be
someone
used,
had committed a crime doing something unrelated,
or like like you want to establish like a pattern of this behavior in a court of someone. I mean, sometimes it's helpful if like someone's been a reoffender of similar crimes, but sometimes some people have said like this is kind of like a double jeopardy in a sense. Yeah, And he points out that a lot of those, Tom Mesereau pointed out, like, some of the witnesses that came from this evidence who had said, Jackson did this and that. Mesereau said, well, here in this case, they're saying that, Michael Jackson never touched me like that, or he never slept, he never molested me. But, the same thing with another case where, like, there were 3 security guards who had, shown to testify, claiming that they were wrongfully terminated by Michael Jackson. But then Michael Jackson countersued them because he pointed out that these guys stole property from him, like about millions of dollars worth of property.
That sounds like a good enough reason to fire someone, isn't he?
Yeah, that was the cross complaint, and they lost. It was actually a pretty long civil trial, and he got a $1 million judgment against all of them for this grand theft, essentially. And these people were put on, and they even still said that Michael Jackson didn't do this in no testimony.
Yeah, because if they had actually put their name to it, they would be criminally liable for
the same thing
libel,
with like
right?
the
like
5
they would
other.
have been in serious jeopardy.
And this was the Gavin Arvizo trial, and the Evan Chandler, the original accuser, basically, actually his son Jordy Chandler. The thing is, it's funny, is Jordy in that case was not really that involved. He was sort of the object by his father, who basically wanted to extort Michael Jackson after, like, his favors for, like, getting into Hollywood stardom had run dry. And, it's pointed out that, like, Michael Jackson was deliberately subpoenaed in the 1993 case, like, in between, like, tour legs for his Dangerous album, like, promotion. So if he had to fight these court allegations, he would have to cancel the second half of his tour, which would lose a lot of,
like $1 billion or some absurd amount of money. Like it made no sense for him to fight it.
And the worst part was,
but of course, I mean, you settle, you look guilty, right?
Yeah. Whoa, man, rain just turned up outside. I forgot it's about to happen. You ever get that moments where you're like talking and then all of a sudden?
The funny part about that is California has like no rain. Like we're actually a desert here. We're a very dry state. So whenever it rains, like driving is dangerous.
Yeah.
Like,
you got mudslides, rock slides and mudslides too, and some of those valley
believe
areas.
me, if mudslides and rock slides were our only problem, I would feel blessed.
And so the worst, it's the same type of trial of public opinion that we see, because you saw what happened to that lady in New York. She's actually suing people for defamation.
So this is a pregnant woman who was fired because she paid for a bike, and people said she was being deeply offensive to people on the basis of their skin color. Yeah, so
basically these teenagers, well, I mean, I know the euphemism. I want to keep them in good standing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so there were 4 teenagers of a different ethnic origin that were taking a bike she had rightfully paid for.
Yeah, and they tried to paint her as the aggressor, even though it's clear that she's being, these people are basically stealing a bike from her. But the social media
old joke
mob,
we used to say in high school.
Yeah. But the social media lynch mob that formed tried to paint her in the wrong and called her the anti-white. Basically, the anti-white woman slur Karen. Which is
oh my God!
To be fair, anti-white woman slur. I mean, but if it fits, I mean. I would say that's not specifically white women. I think that's specifically women in general. There are Karens of every race and creed. It's just they're the ethnic majority in the country, so we see the most Karens that are white.
I know, but people would say
I don't think it's like normally associated with white women. I think it's associated with women that ask for the manager.
Yeah.
I mean, there used to be. You guys remember, like, wasn't like "Bye Felicia" the kind of clapback response to an annoying woman? Like,
I feel like though, like
that was for Lizzo's at the club.
Stacy is more of like a white woman, like making fun of, calling someone like a dumb white woman.
I thought Stacy was for Mills because it's Stacy's
No.
mom.
I think it's like Chad and Stacy, right? It's like calling her a Stacy, like you're a basic white woman. I thought more so than that. But okay, so she lost her job, right? Because she was
she was placed on leave But these people kept
Paid
going
leave?
after her.
Paid leave?
Yeah,
Oh.
or unpaid. I don't know.
Oh,
They
I mean,
kept
if it's
going
paid
after
leave,
her.
I'm like, whoa, fuck! Can I have a lynch mob after me?
Yeah, well, they doxed her. They doxed her husband. This is, by the way, this woman was pregnant, 6 months.
She should
And
not
I
be
mean,
working.
yeah, well, like I said, what point of society do we force? We're at the point where women are going to get accosted and made out to be villains by people with social media clout in order to justify. I mean, this is where I say thank God community notes came in to basically say no, this is the
This is
context.
an interesting transition for the Elon Musk interview. Did you catch that on CNBC?
I caught some of it, but what point are you making?
So there was an interesting point Elon Musk said, because he talked about George Soros, and the CNBC guy was basically saying, like, look, man, there's a lot of lefty people that like your cars, and you're kind of pissing them off talking about George Soros. You shouldn't do that. And Elon paused, because Elon, compared him to Magneto, which is funny with George Soros' Sonderkommando history, being a Holocaust survivor and one who stole property from Jewish people for the German state during the Holocaust.
Wait, what?
Yes, George Soros was a Sonderkommando. He sold out other Jews to get a better position during World War II. But that was not the point he was bringing up. It's just kind of a funny aside to Elon Musk calling him a Magneto. But basically, the reporter was basically saying, like, look, man, you shouldn't talk about this. You're gonna piss off people that buy your overpriced electric cars. And Elon paused for about 30 seconds, and then he said, this brings me back to this movie I like, The Princess Bride. I'm sure we've all seen The Princess Bride. It's a fun family movie about adventure and fantasy that came out many years ago. It says there's Inigo Montoya. He's the Spaniard character. I think he's played by Mandy Patinkin. And he says, offer me money, power, and I don't want it. Basically saying that, like, yeah, I'd rather say whatever the fuck I want, and so if I lose some money, it's a big deal. It's kind of what he said to the guy, and I thought, oh, that's refreshing to hear. Really refreshing. But the guy was basically like, bro, you shouldn't talk about George Soros like this. You're gonna offend some people. And he just said, yeah, fuck it. Why would I care? I have all the money in the world.
I mean, like I said, it's not even just him. Like, there's other certain various types of
Elon Musk
progressives.
actually has things to lose, right? He has all the money in the world,
Yeah.
but there are consequences for his actions. There are a lot of people that are nobodies. They don't really have consequences, so they're able to speak freely. But like Elon Musk there are consequences for the shit he says and does.
Yeah, with the stockholders.
Like, I'm not saying Elon Musk is some saint or savior of the West or whatever. I just think it's refreshing to hear someone, kind of be in his I don't give a fuck phase. I mean,
Yeah,
he posted
and
some stuff
I know
about
they're gonna
crime
try.
statistics too. I mean, he was just like, yeah, this does seem conservative.
Well, yeah. Again, these are the taboos of when people think of wokeism. It's basically political correctness. That's what we used to call it.
Yes, we
The Ameri-
political correctness. Now that's a term I haven't heard in a long time, because it's it's orthodoxy and
I know.
establishment
It's dead.
circles and media. It's like, oh, this is the acceptable way to talk, right?
Also, I think South Park killed it.
Yeah, they kind of had to
'Cause
rebrand after that, I think. They've
That
rebranded
was a really
it
good
as
season, though.
Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, or DIE, as the acronym goes. There's been a big rebranding effort because it's entirely unpopular.
Because PC Principal was such a great character in South Park.
Well, I'm just saying, it's pretty unpopular, when you talk to actual human beings, instead of astroturfed influencers and other things. It's like, you talk to actual people, like, yeah, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah, it's like when you talk to Hispanics
That's not saying
about Latinx.
there's not saying there aren't NPCs out there who will, repeat every talking point for fear of, being exposed as, not religiously sound on the issue. But
so
in general,
like,
if you talk to people, when they think they're not being recorded, or you talk to people when they feel, like they could say what they actually think, right? And they're not under the microscope of, some Karen with a cell phone to report them to the authorities. People really find it very unpopular to be woke or, culturally accepting, you know,
Yeah.
or yeah, I think that's generally people actually show who they truly are when you turn off the camera, you know.
Completely agree with you. And FYI, if you're Hispanic, Latino, whatever, and you use Latinx, I have no respect for you.
Geeky here, going to crusade against the Latwinks again.
I will always crusade against
Geeky
that.
and your endless crusade against the Latwinks. You don't accept this modern term. I heard, actually, I do need your input on one of these things, Geeky. Because Yamato from One Piece, explain this for me. Please don't use the term we're not allowed to say.
Okay, Yamato's not what people think. Even Oda confirmed it.
I heard someone saying that they're like, her evil father called her proper pronouns. I was like, what the fuck are you people talking about?
Even Oda said it was a woman. The latest One Piece spread shows all the female characters in bikini for summer, and Yamato's on it.
Okay, but why do people think this insanely stacked demon-themed woman is a man?
Do you care if I spoil?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't have to.
So, Yamato's main goal in life is to become Odin, and Odin is a male character.
Odin, like the Norse god?
No, there's a character named Odin in One Piece who was the previous head of Wano before Kaido took over.
That's the samurai place, right?
Yes.
Okay. But she wants to become this...
She wants to basically become the next Odin, and because she wants to become the next Odin, that's why they're like, oh, Yamato is yeah.
So, okay, but this doesn't make... Okay, so she wants to be... She idolizes this dude.
And to the point where it's like an obsession. So she goes like...
Like, I actually speak a good deal of Japanese, right? Like...
Yeah.
Japanese, like, pronouns aren't even a thing there. Not because, like, they don't care about whatever, you know, the West is obsessed with pronouns and that. But, like, that's just the way the language is. You know, there is no he, she in Japanese. Like, it's not how it works. Like, there's just I, and there's a more male way to say I, but, you know, there are tomboys that go and they'll say, you know, they'll use the masculine one, not because they're saying I identify as a man, just because it's kind of boyish and, you know, ruder, to kind of less polite way to say me. That's why I'm like, but like, do these people not even understand the language? Like, was there like translators that decided to make the character like something it's not? Is that what it is? That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, it's like, what the heck?
Probably. I mean, there was a joke that like the mistranslations for All Might was like, instead of I am here, it's I am. Can we say the keyword here?
I have arrived? Isn't it I have arrived and everything's okay because I'm here or something?
Here. Yeah, I am here, but they would say like, no, he said I am. What? It might have been just a parody I saw, but there was.
I think it was a parody. But okay, so basically, because she idolizes some dude, they're saying
she's a
that
tomboy,
she wants
basically.
She doesn't seem like a tomboy. She has massive titties and a giant Oni axe, like from Dokuro-chan. I don't know. It doesn't. These are not traditionally. Giant titties aren't traditionally masculine, like features, you know. But I assume she speaks in like a rude manner, right? Like direct, blunt terms, you know, basically non-feminine ways, and that, I guess, is what they're going for, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It seems flimsy.
And besides, she still has the female hairstyle, like.
Yeah, she looks very womanly. You know, she's got big bazongas, big hair. She's wearing like a female shrine maiden costume, basically, right? Like,
yeah, and even Oda put like a female spread of all of them coming down the waterfall. It looks great, and all these Twitter people are pissed to the point where they want Oda to kill himself and receives death threats.
Look, I don't like One Piece, but I don't want hurt.
Yeah, I need this story to finish. I cannot deal with a berserker.
He's gonna be your George
situation.
R. Martin. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna be that mean to you. You're never going to see the end of this.
I saw him like supporting the writers in the strike, and I'm like, dude, haven't you basically been on strike ever since the
Oh, the
Game of
writer's
Thrones show
strike.
came
Okay,
out.
so I think the writer's strike is
The writer's
really.
strike is-
You're talking about the writer's strike in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think this is
You
actually
mean the one
really interesting because I.
You mean the one that Hassan Piker like bought pizza for and took credit for and said he was basically Jesus Christ because of it?
Well, no. What I'm saying is that like the whole writer strike. This is fascinating because they have severely overplayed their hand and overestimated their self-worth. Like I'm just
Yep.
like, bro, like they're like trying to make them ban AI and you're demanding higher wages. Like you guys are insane. Like you're negotiating with a lion that has your head in like a in a jaw lock. Like this is not this is the time you should beg them to let you write stories, because holy shit, like if they go, okay, well we've got no writers, we're just gonna use Chat GPT for a month, and if it's
Or-
better, they're so fucked.
Or the worst part is they could just hire all the independent people who will work for free just to get their foot in the door.
Yep, there's
And
that too. There's that too. These guys are severely overestimating their, how do I put this? Their pull and sway is kind of what I'm seeing here. They're about to be tragically awakened to just how little significance or power they actually have.
I just hope, honestly, that some projects get canceled because of this. Like, if this cancels, like, all of Netflix's live action stuff of anime
We're not that fortunate,
adaptations,
Geeky.
well, they might. Well, I heard One Piece had to go through rewrites and reshoots because it failed with the
I
test
mean,
audience.
yeah, you're threatening us with a good time, you know.
Yeah. Oh God, I won't have to watch 5,000 more Netflix series that aren't that good. Oh no.
I mean, I bet they're also like vanity projects, you know, like we know these things had like no chance of ever really going anywhere or making a profit.
Well, all
it's
the late night
hard,
shows
isn't
have
it?
been
Because
canceled.
like with streaming, the way streaming is, it's a weird monetization model, right? Because like you're not judging a streaming service by one show, you know, unless it's like Disney Plus and it's The Mandalorian that carries the entire network, right? Or you know whatever is new in Star Wars that carries the whole network. Like,
Well, I mean,
it's hard to judge the whole thing, right?
right, and
You have Nielsen ratings and you have, you know, retention. You can see, you know, who watched it and who didn't, right? But it's streaming is I don't think they have down, you know, like their metrics for this, you know, and you still, it's weird because, right, you've got probably the best and brightest quant people who just it seems like they have no idea what they're doing, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, like they're going to lose a lot of money. And, you know, you could argue, oh, you know, that the woke is more important to them than making money. But no. At a certain day, people have to have their paychecks signed. And, you know, didn't they fired Chapek and replaced him with the old CEO? Like, you know, there are consequences for these things. It's not, like, all free.
unless your name is Kathleen Kennedy, you for some reason you still can't get fired.
Yeah, that's...
Well, I mean, you could probably say the lawsuits would be pretty, you know, she could try to.
Oh yeah, she would just be
hold
able,
it.
she would just argue that did you see The Force Awakens? I was so successful and they fired me because I was a woman that was getting too ahead and they wanted to keep me down. Buy my book.
But Willow just got taken off of Disney Plus as cost-cutting measures.
What's Willow?
That was the first like
Isn't that Sleepy
non-Star
Hollow?
Wars. I don't know, but it was the first like non-Star Wars Lucas like films project in a while.
Because Kathleen Kennedy's in
Yeah.
charge of the whole operation, Lucasfilm, right now, right?
Yes.
Now she's like, and as far as I understand from her history, her central thing was working on Indiana Jones, actually.
Which I heard that new one is also the new Indiana Jones film is not very good.
Well, the critics hate it though, and you can't trust critics because they don't have souls.
The critics don't like it. I might actually watch it.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
the problem.
maybe they've learned, Yellow Lantern. You better give us bad
Maybe.
reviews. It will be really funny when, you know, corporate executives finally realize that people want to hear that critics don't like stuff. Like when they finally realize, no, you guys have to pan this, otherwise people aren't gonna like it.
Because remember, the critics like Crystal Skull.
Did they? Gosh,
Yeah.
I do not remember. I feel like the
I
critics
mean-
panned it too.
Well, I mean, you had the business of, that whole instance of surviving a nuclear blast in a
Oh, come
refrigerator.
on! That's honestly my favorite part of that movie. That's so stupid, dumb, and campy. I actually like that scene. It's dumb. It makes no sense. There's no possible way that would work, right? What do you call it? The impact, the blunt force trauma you'd suffer being in there would kill you alone. But it's so
Yeah.
funny and campy that I actually liked that scene. It's so dumb. It's so dumb
Well,
that I like it.
I mean,
Yeah.
if Indiana Jones had basically gone underground, like several and avoided, like that would have been more plausible. But
Oh,
it's like,
absolutely. But it's so dumb and stupid. I actually like it. I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe I'm just Stockholm syndrome, that like, oh yeah, it's so stupid that I like it.
I like moments like that just because of it makes me suspend my disbelief for a bit and remember this is fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear with this one they're doing time travel, which, dear God, have we? Can we just bring the Veil of the Force into Star Wars, please, Kathleen? Please.
mhm.
Well, that's definitely out the window with Rey getting to steal all of Luke's plot lines, with Ahsoka getting to take Luke's heir to the Empire plot line, with.
Well, the rumor is that Rey's pregnant in this new movie.
Oh gosh. Who? Why? How? All right.
Because Ben Solo came back from the dead.
No. No, no. Come on.
Which is weird. Well, anyways, I just hope Harrison Ford can just maybe retire for good. I mean, there's a whole joke about he was been trying to kill the Han Solo character since The Empire Strikes Back, and he got his wish to kill him off in Episode 7 because he wanted to focus on other stuff. But yeah,
He had to come back for 9 though.
yeah.
Roll it if you have to.
Well, the problem with
Superstar.
Harrison Ford is that he signed to be the next Thunderbolt Rasta, so
I'm
he's
sorry.
not retiring anytime
Thunderbolt Rasta? You gotta explain this to me.
soon. So I said Thunderbolt Ross, not Rasta. My mistake.
Go on.
So he's gonna be the Red Hulk.
Oh, wait, Harrison Ford?
Yeah, he's replacing the guy who just died. I forgot his name.
Wait.
Because the Thunderbolt Ross from the Hulk movie with Edward Norton, and it was in Civil War, passed away.
Really?
And so they're replacing him with Harrison Ford.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't remember the actor's name. I do apologize on that. I can probably look him up. Give me a second. Also, hello, Winston. You can unmute yourself
Oh, yes,
now.
Winston.
Hey, Winston.
How you doing, Winston?
Hello, 1 second, I'm just getting something.
Let me see. Who's his original actor?
You the Australian guy?
Other media, television, and movies. William Hurt. William Hurt.
William Hurt died?
Yes, he died last year in March.
Well, the big death I saw this week, because I saw on Twitter trending Cleveland biggest whatever this America has a problem, and I saw Cleveland trending. I'm like thinking, oh, what did they do this time? Then I heard Jim Brown died.
Jim Brown, the football player, right?
Yes, the Hall of Fame running back of the Browns, who ended up quitting in his prime because Art Modell gave him a choice about, like, listen, you either pursue your film career or you play football for me. And Jim Brown chose the former.
Really?
It was the first, move that, people took issue with Art Modell.
I gotta be honest, your
combination.
Armadillo sounds like a really cool name to have.
Yeah, but he was not well liked for.
It doesn't
He's
sound like he
became
was.
well. He was the most hated man in Cleveland because he moved the original Browns to Baltimore, where they became the Ravens.
Ravens have won a Super Bowl too.
They've won 2 Super Bowls, which further rubs salt into the wound.
Yeah, that's imagine.
And then
one
one of them was pretty recent too, right?
Yeah, it was
2012.
Flacco,
Yeah, 2012, and this came at a time when all the chicanery, because sports were changing a lot, and the Cleveland Indians got their own stadium. They moved out of the old municipal. I mean, I can't call them the Guardians. They're the Indians. Everyone still
who
calls
got
them that.
robbed.
Yeah, the chief was struck down by political correctness. They named it after they renamed the team after like little 2 building structures on like the other side of town.
You know
that
what
are, like,
pisses me
remnants.
off the most about that is that, like, okay, fine, you're gonna rename the team for sensitivity. Fine, whatever. I don't necessarily agree with that. The team's got a long history being called that. You may not like that, sure, but like, name them after like a Native American tribe or something. Like, don't just give them don't just give them this. Don't just be like, we'll just call you the Guardians. Be find a tribe to like sponsor the team and be like, hey, can we like incorporate your history into this team in some way, or your old culture there, like something. Like, can we like can we do that?
No, Ghost. The best part about the Guardians was they didn't even own the web domain when they first announced the team. Or was that
Oh
the
my
Commander?
gosh, are you serious? That is so funny. So you're
There
telling
was,
me
there was-
Indian gave the domain name?
No, so the Guardians was owned by a roller derby team, and they fled into
Oh
suit.
my gosh, you're right. That is totally a roller derby team. I've heard of them too. Oh my gosh.
Hello, everyone. How are we?
Hello,
Hello, Mr.
I
Winston.
am fostering a dog with my family.
What kind of
Aw.
dog is it?
Well, he had a
a mutt?
passport because he's coming from a war zone. Like,
Oh
the
my
conflict
gosh.
between Azerbaijan and
Armenia.
Armenia that happened like a few months ago.
It's still going?
well-
It's still going, dude.
Yes, the Nagorno-Karabakh
well-
War.
Yeah, exactly. So we thought he was coming in from the Ukraine conflict, but when he looked on the thing, his passport, which is in Cyrillic, so I don't know how he got here. Because in Azerbaijan they have Latin script, but his passport is all in Cyrillic, and it has the.
He's just
like,
there,
Saint
like, I don't know how I got
Peter's
here,
mark on it.
buddy.
But
I'm
the
like
way
lost
his
as you
legs
are.
kind of like in a conflict, like he got hit by something, so like his legs are kind of messed up, and they had to like do surgery on them. So he stands kind of weird and kind of walks a little weird. He can get around though, but the thing is, he's like new. He's like about 2 years, a year and a half old. So we're like, he doesn't even have a name, but we're like fostering him and hoping someone will take him within the next few weeks. But I don't know. He's kind of skittish around my nan because like she's like old and kind of senile. That's why I stick around and like I help watch her and whatnot, make sure she has stuff to eat. But she and the dog are kind of like, I don't know, not really vibing. Like the dog's kind of skittish around her, but he's good around my other dog, the one
That's good.
that I
That's
take care
good.
of.
And then Winston
I
tells
had to
us
give
his
her
other dog is a
trazodone,
pit bull.
though, too. No, it's not a pit bull.
No,
No,
I'm just kidding.
They are both not pit bulls.
I know. I'm joking, Winston. It's a joke.
My dog was a
Yeah.
pit bull. It ate the other dog.
Oh
It
no.
walked in the room weird.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's
That's great, Winston.
Yeah, I actually have a picture of him if you all want to see.
yes, please share it in the general chat.
Yeah,
I love
post it in-
dogs.
yeah,
I
post
love
it in.
dogs.
Yes, please. We all
kind
love
of
dogs
dog?
here.
Alright, here we go. Here we go. This is him on the deck. That's the video I have.
Oh, you got a
And-
deck?
Yeah, I got a deck. I got a nice deck. All the ladies loved my deck. This
Aw.
is him when he was in the
Oh.
hospital.
Aww.
Yeah.
He's cute. What? What kind? He's like a.
What kind of breed is he?
He's like
Yeah.
he's kind of a mud or something. What kind?
He looks like
Yeah. Oh, sorry. They said on the thing, because when he came here, they need to have English translation. So whoever in Eastern Europe was writing it wrote, like, for breed, wrote mongrel.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
I think he looks like an Anatolian shepherd dog.
Oh, yeah.
I can see that.
Anatolian shepherd dog. Let me see what they look like. That's what I wanted to name him, Anatoly. But everyone was like nixing that.
I don't think it's a terrible name.
Anatolian shepherd.
So does he look like one, or resemblance only superficial?
Maybe partially. He's like kind of like that. His tail doesn't really curve though. Oh well, these don't either. Yeah, this is probably what he is mostly. Yeah.
He's probably some mix of it.
Yeah, probably.
I like him. He's cute.
He doesn't have a name, so we're trying to like come up with one.
Well,
They said, yeah, when they gave it to him, they said his name was Seth, and I was like,
I'm
I
not
don't
calling
know
my
if that's
dog
a really
Seth.
high spell. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool, man. I love dogs. I even
Yeah.
like pit bulls. You know, I understand their flaws, but like I think all dogs are beautiful creatures that deserve a happy life and good pets.
Yeah.
Biased. I'm
Fuck
sorry.
Last of Us 2 for making us kill dogs.
Thank you
Wait,
for
what did
brightening
you
our
say?
day.
What?
I said fuck Last of Us 2 for making us kill dogs.
Oh, it's so bad. And you kill the dogs in it. It's just like, oh. Pupper, don't do it. Don't try it. I have to kill you now. Now you know you're the bad. You know, people are like, we're the real bad guys in the zombie. Did I pass out last night? No, Tony. I finished the stream.
Ghost, have you ever passed out on stream before?
No. Not once. Not even once. But, didn't hear me say goodnight. I did say goodnight to you, Tony. What the heck, man?
You didn't say goodnight to Tony, dude? What's
I
wrong
said
with
goodnight. I 100% said goodnight to Tony. I definitely did. This is vicious slander, sir. Ghost definitely said goodnight, Tony.
Yeah.
Light of angels sing thee to thy dreams. But
Oh, I gotta remember. Hey, what's a good way to get people to get away from a Nike store line? Because there's a drop tomorrow, and I want to get those shoes.
a drop? Explain this.
So, you know how the Miles Morales movie comes out next week, or in a couple weeks, right?
Spider-Verse 2, I think.
Yeah. So, they're making the Jordans that he's going to wear in the movie into real shoes. And they're going to go for $200. But
Sounds
people are
appropriate.
predicting this is going to be a grail. Like, once
You're gonna
they
be a resale?
yeah, like this is going to like double in resale price. I'm like, how do I get these shoes?
I would advise caution there. Seems like speculative nonsense. You might want to be careful with that one, Geeky.
I don't know, man. I've become a sneakerhead, so it's kind of hard.
I understand that you are a sneakerhead, Geeky. However,
But I'm not the sneakerhead like Winston, though. I am a sneakerhead who likes wearing shoes.
to be fair, Winston likes getting head from a girl in sneakers, which is quite different from being a
I never
sneaker.
said I like getting pegged. Why does everyone think that? You like did you talk to Ghost Politics? Because he keeps saying this in the inner circle, like, oh, Winston, he wants this. Like,
I have never said that
guilty, like...
on any stream adjacent to Ghost Politics. I want to be very clear with this, Winston. I have never made mention of your love of sneakers or waterworks in anywhere in the vicinity of Ghost Politics. I can guarantee you this for a fact.
I almost finished an entire bottle of champagne today too. Like we had a
Oh,
bunch of
What was
champagne for
the
Mother's Day.
occasion?
We opened a bunch for like Mother's Day, and like they're like, here, have some. So like, cause you know it does
Mama
eventually
Winston was
go
treated
bad.
well.
Yes, she got her
Excellent.
things. I got her some alcohol and this weird vodka infused thing, and it's kind of like blue, and it looked cool, so I got it. I don't
so
know the name of it, but it's French.
Winston, stop coming to streams drunk because that's how we found out about your shoes and squirting fetish.
Ah, yes, yes. That is true. That is how we did discover those unfortunate truths that cannot be
That's a splice, and everyone here knows it.
That wasn't a spice. That was legitimate. And this
This
is all
I
from
is-
never
Reddit.
said that.
Okay? Do we have to go through how this story began again?
we
No.
we could let him. We're gonna let this one slide, Geeky. I'm gonna give Winston a chance to be good with God here. Because I am a forgiving monster. You know, I'm a ghost, but we let people you know, have their trespasses. You know, me obviously, I have no issue Winston doing that. Obviously,
I mean, I have no issue with it too. It's just funny.
it is fucking hilarious.
it is a
This is the
great
problem.
recurring
It's
bit.
fucking hilarious.
Like, we're so lucky we did not change Winston's name. I think we did change his name into that after we found out for
We
a while.
definitely
You
we
did,
most,
and I changed it back.
we most definitely did change it because most important sacred thing of all, it was funny.
Yes,
Uh,
we love shitposting.
we love our Winstons.
Yeah,
We have the best Winston. I want to be clear as well.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
yeah. Also, we love our cops is on Spotify by Negative XP, by the way. The good version of that song.
I like Negative XP. He's some pretty banger songs.
Yeah.
He's a good lad, definitely. Tell him to camp out. He went early to get some J's, but someone must have paid off the security guard because he made a few going around. Talking to Geeky about shoes, apparently.
Let's get some shoes.
Hey man,
Oh,
you gotta
you're
love the
taking it-
Jordans.
I would like to warn Geeky about speculating on the value of expensive shoes.
What is he? Is he going to get himself a pair of Jordans or something?
He's gonna get
I want
himself
to.
the Miles Morales shoes from the Enter the Spider-Verse second film.
Which are Jordans.
They're Jordans.
What are they called? I want to take a look at them.
I will post a picture of it so you can buy them for your girl.
No, and shut the fuck up.
Lady, not gonna have Lady Winstona buy them.
No, I know.
Winston, dear Winston, come on.
Careful, Winston. They're gonna get robbed by. Remember that guy that was sleeping with Wings' wife? All he did was buy her some shoes, you know.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
you Barrett.
you're absolutely right about that. Holy shit, I
That
forgot.
turned out to be a bullshit story, though. That was something that, like, Wings 007. It was like this really nefarious troll who like lies all the time. That's something that he started, but like it was kind of like a funny meme to run with when like Medicare was talking about it. But yeah, I don't think I don't know. When did the fight happen between Wings and Boogie?
That was last week. That was
Sunday.
that
I
was
believe.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I ate crow, and
I
it
told
turns out-
ya, man. I told ya.
You were absolutely correct, Geeky.
Yep. I mean, Wings at least knew how to throw a punch.
It's-
Like he knew
That
how
is
to.
correct.
And he actually, where like Boogie was just flailing. He did show any good technique. He was outranged at every like. He was like losing the neutral interactions.
I mean,
Wings
the only thing that Boogie has is that he lasted around,
Yeah.
which I give props to. You know.
I saw. Didn't they overturn KSI's like victory?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
the
it's a no
judge-
contest because he elbowed him.
Yeah,
Wait,
they
who's
said.
KSI?
He used to be a FIFA YouTuber, and then he did
So
reactions.
he played soccer ball.
I
And
thought he was a
then
member of FaZe Clan.
no, I think he might be a part of FaZe Clan too. But I know he started off by playing FIFA online,
See?
and then he got into some beef with Jake Paul or Logan Paul, and then they were like, you know what, fight me, bro. And then they actually showed what a real Knoxville event looks like, and now it's widely successful. You see what you did, Tonka? You had to screw it up.
Yep.
See. So, okay. So, Mr. Paul Jake fought some guy called Kissy?
KSI.
KSI.
KSI. Wait,
KSI.
wait, did Logan fight KSI or Jake fought KSI?
I thought Logan fought because I thought Jake Paul was undefeated, so it would have been like Logan Paul, right?
Yeah, it would have been Logan because Jake fought Deji then.
Let me check.
Edgy.
Yeah, and then I just know it's Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz in August, and that's gonna be great.
It was Logan Paul. Yeah, I was right. It
Yeah.
was Logan Paul.
Yeah, I was like, I had to think about it too. I was like, wait, it might have been no, Jake KSI wants to fight Jake or vice versa. Like one of them wants to fight the other, but they keep ducking each other, and
Ducking
now,
each other, you
like-
say?
yeah.
What is that?
Oh,
Oh,
sorry,
that
I'm
means
eating. Sorry about that.
That means like you avoid somebody.
Oh, so you're kind of running away.
Yeah.
Who did Jake Paul fight? The black guy went around the time that buck breaking movie was going on. Because
It was
when he
Deji.
won that fight, it was who?
Or was it Deji or Tyrone Woodley? Because those are the only two black guys he's fought.
I think it was
Tyrone-
Woodley. It was Woodley.
Wasn't Tyrone Woodley the guy
Yeah,
who
I
beat his
remember watching
wife?
that fight.
Wait, Tyrone Woodley beat his wife?
Or am I thinking of the Cowboys player? Like,
I
who's
don't
the
think
guy
Tyrone
that?
Wood- No,
who's the
because Dana White would have like fired him though.
guy- Oh.
if-
Who was the? I'm thinking of MMA or something. Didn't the guy like beat the shit out of his wife? Ducking someone is like when Karma's ducking you over anime of this. Understood, Tony.
Oh, shots fired.
Pew, pew, pew.
No, Tyrone Woodley did not beat his wife.
Okay. That's good.
All right. I have one final story to break before I go to bed because I have some things going on tomorrow. There was a rather unfortunate event that happened to one of my friends, Ryan Turnipseed.
Who?
Ryan Turnipseed.
Well, so he is.
Babbitt.
That's his real name, by the way. He's a writer. He's a publicist. He's been with the Old Glory Club. He has a YouTube channel as well as he's appeared on people's shows and podcasts with my friends like Radical Liberation, The Prudentialist, and others. He recently, so back in January, he got into he was part of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. That's his congregation. And what ended up happening was he found a lot of issues with the New Age of Luther's Large Catechism. And you could read his
guy?
thread. I'll post it in the general. Basically, he found a lot of issues theologically with it. Certain things that didn't make any sense. And
No, Luther was the guy who ran around shit posting on people's doors, right?
well, Lutheranism, yeah. So he's
Yeah, he was,
considered
like,
the architect
spamming
of.
people's doors, like, hey.
No, well, he was considered the main architect of the Protestant Reformation.
I see.
Which
From which our work ethic comes from.
supposedly that's the Protestant work ethic. Now, my religion, we had our schism in 1054, which is almost getting close to like 970 years ago. It's gonna be 1,000 years in like 31 years, just to think.
You guys figured it out already?
I wish we did, but
I know.
reality is not that simple. So what
seems
happened
simple.
was, so this thread, he points out deficiencies with the catechism, abuses of like, doctrine, and how like, this catechism made it like, it's supposedly self-defense and bearing arms is immoral,
What?
like, so next we have an equivocation of homosexuality, pornography, sodomy, pedophilia, whoreness, transgression, transgender, but heterosexual fornication outside of sex. That is, the LCMS can't say sodomy is evil without softening it, but saying, but so is straight sex before marriage. Here, the next passage, the new catechism
How is this
affirming a
going to
reality.
save Western civilization, though?
It's
Yeah.
not.
That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah.
What's the
point is,
But what's the benefit of fighting over this issue?
well, it's heretical. It's basically
Sure,
teaching
but
the wrong
like
lesson.
in the grand scheme of things, is it important?
Well, yeah, because this is allegedly one of the most conservative Lutheran sects in the country, and of
What was
course
the
they
guy's name?
Ryan
Townseed?
Ryan Turnipseed. That's his real name, by the way.
But okay, but
Right.
so his problem is he argues the church is too woke.
Well, the catechism contains several errors.
But basically he's saying the church is being too woke, right? Like if I want to simplify it down, bring it down to, level that the catechism is wrong is just him
Basically-
saying the church is too woke based.
No, he's saying that the catechism is incorrect, and he nailed. So the whole point was, he explained it in a stream as well. What Ryan's, he's a friend of mine, and so what ended up happening is that he then wrote a follow-up thread that has been going on what had happened in the past few months, and so this is on January 21st. I wrote a Twitter thread outlining issues that I and others had with the Synoid's new edition of the Catechism. After it was pulled and later re-released and reaffirmed, a lot has changed for me. So it turns out that, a month after he published this, the president of the LCMS not only affirmed all the errors that
What's the
he
LCMS?
found, Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. Basically, the organ.
It sounds like a regional issue.
Well, yeah. And so what ended up happening was, so the president released a statement saying nothing was wrong with it, but then started condemning quote-unquote alt-right Christians for like putting out quote-unquote misinformation and called for them to be excommunicated.
But they are disagreeing with the church. They are breaking doctrine, right?
Well, they're pointing out heresy. And the whole thing was...
who determines what is and isn't heresy? Isn't it the church
Well,
in charge of that?
Well, I don't know how it operates for the Lutheran, because I'm not...
I know,
that,
but
I mean-
isn't that generally though how it works, right? That the church determines what is and isn't heresy.
Well,
Like
Usually
I
we have-
understand, like your reading of the scripture, you're like, well, I know what
Well,
it is,
yeah,
but like the
we
way that the
usually-
authority is vested, right, is that
well, we call councils, like the Council of Nietzsche, the Council of Trent, like various councils are done like on doctrines. Like, there's the famous Saint Arian, getting slapped by the other guy because he was promoting the heresy of Arianism. That was an example. And so basically he detailed, a lot of just scummy behavior. Like, he was coming into basically a struggle session between a lot of pastors and others. This is after Ryan, he published an article on Gab where he summarized the story surrounding the catechism, the problems it had, and then Harrison's letter condemning the alt-right, which I don't think exists anymore. And so the day was, so he basically recorded the Zoom meeting. It was a one-party state. It showed all the threads and just how he was basically subjected to, you must disavow your associations with like Corey Mahler, and others.
I mean, that's
And,
what
you
the
know,
church is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to tell you
yeah,
how to live
but
your life and what to do. I mean,
well,
I
but
know
this
what.
is the case. This was related to Ryan Turnips' criticisms of the Catechism. Basically, you know, this thread was extremely damning to them because it shows that these people are more concerned with, you know, supposed alt-right people, and they're getting their sources from Antifa.
Isn't the important
Like,
thing to win?
well, you don't win if you punch left and kneel to the.
But
Well, you
like,
don't
isn't
win
the
if you
important
punch.
thing that your culture persists and you still, like if you lose all
Yes.
your followers because you take unpopular positions, like then you have nothing left, right?
Well, you should read the thread on this.
But I mean, am I wrong? Like if no one believes in your God anymore, he doesn't exist anymore. So that's kind of important that you still have a flock. I mean, yeah, you're gonna turn off some people that, or literally, but like kind of have like a pyramid scheme that needs to keep growing. So like, can't be turning off people. Infinitely growing Leviathan. Like that's kind of the point. I don't know. I think you're not helping by like getting into these fights.
Well, the whole point was that he was subjected to a struggle session, and this
Yeah.
was just completely baffled and unprecedented. And
Isn't this good for you too? Can't you convert
No.
him to
No.
orthodoxy?
So wait a minute. He was Wait, I'm confused. He was excommunicated by his church because he
was not.
disagreed with.
No,
He was
he
what?
was not excommunicated. He was not. Like I showed you the thread, right?
So he was not excommunicated.
No, Ryan was not.
Where's the thread? I'm trying to find it.
Here, I posted
here we
in.
go.
This is the old
Here we
thread
go.
that got him, and this is the new one. I posted to the general. And so so this is in fact, major props to Ryan's father for standing up for his son in his hour of need, especially against these charges.
He openly defied the church to stand with his
He
blood.
didn't.
He stood with his kin over his religious convictions.
No, so this is the letter that after this sort of struggle session happened. This is what the letter he said. So he goes, on Friday morning, this is what Ryan's father wrote to the pastors after that thread of all the recordings and meetings he had and all the demands for disavowal for some of these people and Ryan kind of pressing the issues. He said, on Friday morning, March 10th, I had a phone call with my son, Ryan, and we talked about what transpired in the meeting that night before, the very meeting of which I was promised an update from the pastor and the good Christian men in attendance. I have yet to receive an update. I specifically requested twice, once at the elders' meeting and one directly with the pastor at Walmart the next day, for the opportunity for Ryan to defend himself. I specifically asked to please be patient with him and try to understand what he's saying to you. From what I gather, none of those things happened. Not only did they not happen, but he was also continuously interrupted, aggressively yelled at, lied to, kept in the dark, had his fist made towards him and pounded the table in a threatening manner, and was walked out on. Ryan said he specifically asked during the meeting for statements to be put in front of him to denounce, but all you said was not good enough. Instead, after reading out your own summaries, along with the way admitting that 75% of the work was done by nameless outsiders who our pastor refused to name, you demand that he denounce their persons as evil. I have never heard of such a thing demanded of a person for mere online association. I know of multiple passages in the New Testament demanding that Christians purge evildoers from their midst. Something was left out to dry until now, apparently. But I know of nothing that demands a Christian denounce someone's person so uniquely evil that even associating with them in any capacity by virtues of the person is unrepentant sin. Some of you have known that Ryan has talked with the more radical people on a regular basis for years now, with Ryan essentially functioning as a journalist and hearing what these guys have to say. The people at meetings regularly apparently did not know this, and upon learning of Ryan's older, more radical associations, most of which I happen to agree with on a regular basis, that all you had to say was just use common sense. Well then, was just use common sense not said for anyone else? Anyone smarter than a fifth grader could tell you why. The elders and
This
pastors at
honestly
that
sounds
meeting.
like a third grader being forced to write an apology.
Yeah.
It kind of does.
Well,
like, it sounds
this
like...
is his father standing up.
No, I know, but to me, this is what it sounds like. A third grader is like being forced to write this. I'm sorry, I can't take it seriously. But please
Yeah,
continue.
so this
continue.
is some of you, where was I? Anyone smarter than a fifth grader could tell you why. The elders and pastors in this meeting make it clear, brushing off with utter radical connections, that this is not about radicalism. In fact, it's quite clear now that this focused attack against the critics of the new catechism. By the sounds of it, you couldn't even deny that this was a partisan attack. Whenever Ryan asked if this low standard of quote-unquote evil online association would be applied to anyone else, he was told that this wasn't about anyone else but him. Well, if it's not about anybody else but him, why don't we look at throughout their own statements and beliefs and questions then? If this isn't about anyone else but him, why drag in online associations that have happened for months and only suddenly became an issue after criticism of a catechism were published? Whenever Ryan asked if the standard would be applied to worse offenses, such as those who happily vote for pedophile-adjacent child grooming political parties, or those who say deny the law of God and still commune in our church, he was once again told that this wasn't above anyone else but him. If this were the case, and he really was getting sucked into this alt-right movement, then why did you not mention once a word that he publicly said? If this isn't about anyone else but him, why drag in online associations that have happened for months and only suddenly became an issue after criticism of catechism was published? Speaking of these radical online associations, I follow mostly the same people and some who are more radical, and I have yet to be gone after. Do I just have to publicly speak out against the new catechism to experience an interrogation from the synod? Is that it? For Ryan's notes that he took during this meeting, he wrote down that he was asked to denounce a guy under the pseudonym of Vtuber, who had been labeled a Nazi. At this point, I have to ask if any of you have done an ounce of homework. We very obviously have a weak pastor who is being fed information from higher-ups in the synod, and the reason I know this is because the only reason you would claim that Vtuber is a Nazi is because you believe the faulty, factually incorrect Antifa article that was published a little over a month ago. Vtuber is an ethnic Jew and a Roman Catholic who's voted down ballot blue in the city of New York.
Wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, he says himself, you are sincerely demanding that a Native American completely disassociate from the Jewish Roman Catholic Democrat because they're Nazis? Is this a story you want to be comfortable with the world knowing? I can see the headline now. Whitest church in America expels Native American for being friends with a Jewish Roman Catholic. If you careless blunders make it online, they'll spread like wildfire and your critics will have an absolute field day. Further proving this is a partisan attack directing at critics of the new catechism, when Ryan asked if he would be asked to disassociate with Thomas Lemke, a member of good standing with the Lutheran Church and more, he was told not yet. I can hardly believe this. Have you informed Mr. Lemke of his threats? How many other pastors in the synod are in on this hit? And what degree of this all being coordinated by higher-ups? There is no other reason you would answer not yet if this wasn't being coordinated. And we deserve to know how high up it goes. But being as intent to the pastors and the elderly at meeting was solely focused on Ryan's online associations, while simultaneously claiming that the only one involved is Ryan, I would like to share something I found the other day. Christopher J. Neuendorf, the only pastor publicly engaging Mahler, came out and said, I therefore withdraw the charges that Mahlerites promote the extermination of the Jewish race, and I ask that anyone who still engages with them remain with their rhetoric turns in that direction, that this is not their avowed position. That is the only synod passage to engage with the people instead of assuming the worst had just said the obvious. None of these people want to kill or exterminate people of Jewish descent. I believe at the very least Ryan deserves a full apology. He was berated countless times for associating with this Nazis that totally want to kill Jews. Once again, I was an LCMS pastor that determined this, and if you had spent 5 minutes doing your own homework, I'm sure you would have realized it too. In fact, it was so basic that even Rolling Stone admitted that Mahler balks at being labeled a neo-Nazi, and he argues against the alt-right. Seriously, how many neo-Nazis argue against the quote-unquote alt-right and reject the label neo-Nazi? Either he's the worst neo-Nazi on the face of the planet, or once again, you failed to do even a minuscule amount of research. It seems that another meeting is necessary, with an impartial mediator and at least someone present who is sympathetic to Ryan's end. A man reading random lines from secret sources where he refuses to disclose would never, under any circumstances, be used to legitimately accuse someone. The next meeting should be conducted solely on a basis of evidence, where the origin of the evidence, specifically the names of the people feeding it to you, shall be made known to everyone involved. Sufficient time will also be given to this next meeting. The last meeting was so obviously illegitimate and frankly embarrassing for this organization. All I suggest is that you amend your methods for the next meeting. This is disgraceful and unchristian. End of the letter.
And I feel like the Simpsons episode where all the rich people are throwing money at the monkeys fighting.
Well, this is my
I'm so
friend.
glad my
basically.
parents didn't subject me to this insanity.
Yeah.
Well, they
You guys
can.
are all fighting over dumb shit, having hour-long arguments, writing replies like it's the 1600s again. Like, oh my gosh, this is like YouTube reply guys screaming at each other. How do you guys not die of embarrassment? Like,
So,
seriously.
The whole
You guys
thread.
take this
basically-
seriously too. That's what's insane.
Honestly,
Like,
that
what
was
the hell
boring.
is wrong with
Honestly,
you?
that was boring. That was boring as shit.
Like, I mean, what? I'm sorry. Like, if people like treated you like that, just fucking leave. You know, just take your relationship with God somewhere else. Who cares? Like, dude. Like, what? You're fighting and
Basically-
arguing that long over that? Why? Like, you know, some guy saying that it's okay for people to be gay isn't gonna make your God any less real or non-real. You know, right? Like, it's
That's not
outside
the
of
point.
that. Like,
The point
I don't
is
understand. Like, why do
that-
you need these big organizations that are inclined towards wokeness because they're inclined towards growth? I mean, it's like this has been the whole point of Christianity since the beginning, is to denationalize people and make them one conglomerate of people under shared slavery. I mean, that's the point.
No.
Like, Christianity is just
that's
the
not-
original globo homo. That's what it is, and they're just
No,
jealous
it's
that other
not.
people
No,
are
it's
copying
not.
that. Like, I don't
That's
understand.
Well,
Christianity
first of
was
all,
created to save people's souls in the afterlife.
Yeah, but people don't have a
and,
soul.
you know,
It's
to
electric
combat-
currents in your brain, man.
Well,
That's
some
your
people
person.
are just believers, and I guess you're not. It's look, I'm not having this discussion. We'll have to agree to disagree. But you know, I don't know. This is like Yellow Lantern. This is kind of like outside my wheelhouse. I am not a Lutheran. Nor do I like to be in
You're
any
Catholic,
kind of
right,
woke
Winston?
church. Yeah, but I'm probably going to switch to Orthodoxy sometime.
Ah.
In the next,
oh my goodness.
Well, at least you're going to the less woke Christianity, I guess.
Well,
no, it's not. It's not. Religion shouldn't necessarily be all about the culture around it. But you know, if you look at like church history, the Orthodox Church is closer to how the original church was supposed to be set up back in the day, whereas the Catholic Church has, you know, deviated. And the reason why people say Orthodox churches are conservative is because, or right wing, is because Orthodox churches aren't political. Like, and because of their absence of being political, people kind of just gravitate them to being right wing. It kind of goes to that old meme where people say absence of politics is in itself conservative or right wing, or the right wing is the absence of having like a partisan ideology. Well, that's kind of like why they say they're like a conservative branch or a non-woke branch of Christianity. But so I don't know. This is kind of outside my wheelhouse, Yellow Lantern.
well, what's saying? So, yeah, people
But
have
I mean, you
noticed
believe in
that
the same
Orthodox-
God, right?
Yes.
Right, he's the same
Yeah.
guy. You just have differences over the rules.
Well, it's more. It's so the different. I don't want to explain all the theological differences, but
But like, there are slight differences, basically, right? You know, like, but realistically,
not-
it's you believe in the same God, right? You just think maybe misguided on certain doctrinal shit or whatever, right?
Well, it's also, I mean, there's jurisdiction issues, interpretations of the books,
Like I said,
and the
doctrinal minor little issues, right? It's the same guy.
well,
Like there's
it's
not
how
a
I
there's
mean,
not an orthodox god and a non-orthodox god. It's just it's the same guy. These people just don't see it the same way as I do, right?
It's how you worship him, and the doctrine of the church is different, but it's the same Abrahamic God. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's
well,
not
I should
super
I
complicated.
yeah. So how do I frame it like this is, for example, in our church, we're technically in schism. So I would always say, in my point of view, we see the Pope as the patriarch of the Roman Orthodox Church, whereas this is how we kind of viewed it before the Great Schism in the 10th century.
To be honest, being an
Is it the
unorthodox church sounds a lot cooler than being an orthodox church.
well, the
Less
the
predictable.
heterodox
Less
is the
predictable, you
term.
know?
Well, there are sometimes schisms in ours. They tend to be decentralized. The big one is the Moscow Patriarch and the Constantinople Patriarch that happened in 2018. That's the only big one. But that doesn't mean that we're officially going to start our own. That just means that we're basically separated.
You're legally
We still-
separated.
Basically,
You guys are
since-
divorced from each other, basically.
It means people under the Constantinople jurisdiction cannot receive communion, and the churches
What
under
is
the
communion again?
communion is the prayer.
It's where you get the wafer or you drink the wine, and it's.
But what does it
in
mean?
Catholic
Like-
and Orthodoxy, the body and blood of Christ.
But what does it mean?
Catholic, it signifies the Last Supper of Jesus.
But what does that
before he
mean?
died.
Like
well,
I'm not
in
understanding what that
Catholic-
means, right? Like it's like
it's a form of how we it's our prayer ceremony. It's how we after the communion is done, my people go, behold, this is touch of lip, it shall take away your iniquities, both help you cleanse of your sins, voluntary and involuntary. And it's part of the ritual because I don't eat breakfast
it
on
makes you
Sundays
sick
because
and then makes you well.
no. I mean, some people can't because they do have problems eating it. That's why there's a different
No, I
batch
mean the
that
whole
they drink.
point of the ritual, right, is to say you're sick and make you well, right?
Not necessarily.
And this can only be provided by, this authority, right?
Let me pull out my DLR. Let me pull out my calendar, my dictionary, as well as my
But what
So,
happens if you don't
communion-
receive communion?
Well, it's better to do.
No, but what happens if you don't?
Well, it'll damage your soul. I mean, you'll start losing your faith.
Isn't your God like unlimitedly forgiving or some nonsense? So like it doesn't matter, he'll forgive you eventually?
Well, there's a difference between saying you'll do it and actually following up. Because it's one
Yeah.
sin is when people miss the mark. But being involved in scandal is when they know they are doing it and they never repent.
But like
you will never be able to win over Ghost or the Ghost.
no, but
after
I'm
politics
just
with the
curious though, like if your
with,
God is
religion
ultimately
argument.
forgiving, right? Like unlimitedly forgiving, right? It means that like you could at any time ask for forgiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
why does it matter that you do this ritual in the here and now,
well, it's this is our sacred time in the fellowship with God. We remember Jesus' sacrifice on the cross.
Right, the whole scapegoating thing, you guys are... Yeah, I get that. I understand that, like you take that pagan tradition of making a scapegoat and turned it into your core central thesis of your religion. I get that, but like, why would you need to do communion? Couldn't you literally do it at any time?
No, it helps
no
us.
consequences?
It points us back to Christ. That's his point. It helps
But-
communion helps us reminds of our connection to Jesus Christ.
But what is your connection?
He is God. He's not only he's a son,
But
he's the
what's
Father,
your
the Son,
connection
and the
to
Holy
him?
Spirit. He's my God.
But
I worship him.
it's something that you allege made you, right? Is that your
Yes.
connection?
All right. I think we rocks the creeks. What reached the creeks of this argument? What is the correct terminology? I'm sorry, I'm kind of stupid today.
We've reached the
Reach?
crux of this argument.
Reach the crux of this argument. Sorry about that. Is that the correct terminology I'm using?
Crux? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All right.
It's our right. It's the so yeah.
Either Either way, I
have,
did want to say something though, Yellow Lantern, because you said you had to leave or something like that. I
Yeah.
didn't know you knew who the Prudentialist was. I'm actually a patron of theirs, and I'm in their Discord. I watch their streams.
I'm his friend. I'm friends with a lot of
You
guys in the sphere.
really? Oh, okay. You don't know? Do you know Dave the Distributist?
Yes, I do know him.
He has
Okay,
often
here's
quoted
a big
articles and tweets from Mr. Distributist.
Oh yeah.
Well, you gotta tune into more Coast to
here-
Ghost. He brings them up quite often, actually.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever bring up who's he now seems to go more and more by his real name,
Yeah.
the British Persian guy, academic agent. You know him?
Brought him up
Yes.
several times.
I brought him up in my article actually. I guess I'll talk about it. Did you read my article, Ghost?
I
wrote-
read your second to last article, not the last article you
Talking
read.
about
And-
which one?
Let me
You're
check my
talking
Substack
about
reader.
the commentaries on Paul Gottfried's book. I have not had the chance. I had a busy week at work. I apologize.
I know. Well, I'm going to follow up on it because of what Ryan went through. Because I want to talk about this
Ryan,
is
the
an
guy
example.
whose church wanted to excommunicate him for saying gays are bad.
No. They
Based.
wanted to. Well, they wanted to. So they were trying to discipline him
Or
because
his associations. Not
yeah,
people
and
that
people
have that
interpreted
opinion.
this. Well, and people have started to think this was because Ryan criticized the catechism, and that the church,
That's him openly undermining his church's authority, right?
He wasn't undermining it. He was actually
kind of, right? Isn't the catechism the church's statements on official church business?
Not exactly. It was an update to Luther because a catechism gets people into the church. It helps you get accustomed to the traditions, to the scripture. It helps you, because if you want to convert to Lutheranism, they will you will study and you will take your this when someone
It's
says
like
they
reading
taught
from
me
the
my
Torah.
catechism.
They do that? Jeez.
Yes, I mean, there used to be people who could memorize the Bible front to back. It's kind of a weird tradition. It's a tradition I think some people should also learn. They should study it. They should also study it in its original language when it was written in Amharic, Syriac, as well as Greek.
Isn't it Aramaic?
Yeah, these were the languages that Jesus spoke at the time. It's kind of interesting. It's still a spoken language in Syria, in some of those remote villages.
He spoke Wakandan.
Mhm.
Are you telling me
That's a stupid
Jesus was
joke.
the original
I'm
Black
sorry.
Panther?
I didn't mean to interrupt. That was the dumbest thing I could have said in the moment.
Winston.
Possibly.
That was great.
I'm
All
sorry.
right.
I don't even
That's
know why.
it.
You know what? I think I need more champagne.
I
Actually.
think you need more champagne, Winston. But yo, Lantern, Memory Eternalist on Substack. What's the next article coming out? You're gonna follow up on your commentaries on Paul Gottfried?
Yes, because I'm going to explain what was the educational process that brought us here. This was the whole. Remember the video that Yuri Bezmenov put out?
Yeah, the guy said that
talking
we'll undermine the West by infiltrating institutions, etc. Right.
Well, I suggest I followed Academic Agent's video and explained
Who's
in
that?
detail
Okay.
what process caused this, and unfortunately, what has happened to Ryan. I'm going to put this an example of how the anti-fascist state we live in
We live in a
operates
fascist
under.
state, but go on.
I spoke to Paul Gottfried himself
I know,
a month
but
ago.
That does not make us an anti-fascist state, speaking to one
Well,
man.
I asked him what kind of system we live under, and he says this is not fascism. We're
I
living
would
under
say it's fascism. I mean, you've got corporations serving the needs of government at, you know, we've got kind of a false notion of property rights undermined by the state. I mean, yes, I would say we definitely live under a fascist system.
Moldbug would say America is a communist country, but instead
Yeah,
of
well,
for the
Moldbug
workers.
sounds pretty stupid, honestly.
Well, this thesis probably has more weight in the sense that the civil rights regime gives powers to this type. I mean, the Spandrel based his thesis on bio-Leninism from Moldbug's America as a communist country, which is kind of an interesting connection there. But the point is like, um, I will follow up on just how this played out because I referenced Charlemagne's article talking about
Who's Charlemagne?
The rapper?
Charlemagne's. No.
Because
It's
you
a pseudonym of another-
gotta say who Charlemagne is, because like I mean, weren't
a
there
guy
historical
from-
figures like Charlemagne? I mean, like
He has a YouTube channel as well.
that doesn't narrow it down. I'm gonna be honest. There's a lot of YouTube channels out there.
So on my Substack, I referenced one of his articles he wrote for the Old Glory Club Substack, which talked
So
about
he wrote for the Old Glory Hole. Okay, go on.
Old Glory Club, not Glory Hole.
Okay. This is why context and words are important, man.
Mhm.
The slightest change in word, things completely change their meaning.
So this was actually the article was called "Ryan Turnipseed does not exist and he must be punished for existing," and I pulled this quote from the article, and it said this: "I recently described the political orientation of the regime Americans live under as quote unquote anti-fascism, specifically that anti-fascism is not anti-hyphenated fascism, but its own independent ideology. It's not even particularly related to fascism at that. It has a more direct lineage in Bolshevism. Anti-fascism is characterized by the violent suppression of anything other than acts in opposition to managerial oligarchy, usually incorrectly referred to as democracy, which is a type of government currently operated by anti-fascists. Opposition to anti-fascism has virtually nothing to do with fascism or being a fascist, although this is how anti-fascists characterize their opposition. That is,
Have you
the
heard
fascist.
anyone call someone a fascist like in a long time?
It happens all the time on Twitter.
I
Like
haven't
it's
seen
been
that.
happening since. It's been
I feel
happening
like
since
that's out of
1945.
vogue the last few years.
This is so. This is the section I highlighted. You know,
Saying like
This is why-
blatantly calling people a fascist is like falling out of vogue lately. Is what it seems like.
anti-fascist individuals. This is what I said. This is what Charlemagne wrote. Anti-fascist individuals, they're obsessed with slurs of like trolls and the anonymous people. These epithets have a dual purpose. One, they allow the anti-fascists to dehumanize their opposition, deprive them of quote-unquote human rights, because in their calculus, individual human rights can be sacrificed in the name of the generalized
Safety,
and
yeah,
personal
protecting people from
individual.
harm, yes.
which is something akin to the idea of a general will from Rousseau. Ironically, because this impersonal individual is not an actual person, ironic since their main false attack on Turnipseed. Second, the more important role of these
They're making a
epithets is
big
that they
deal out
allow.
of this Turnipseed character when it was just a dispute with some local church, some regional church. Like, they
Well,
try to
I
make
just
a
wanna
mountain out of a molehill. I mean, saying that
But this is a problem of,
this
like-
local church was acting out of line with.
This is not the local church. This is the literal, like, one of the most conservatives, like, Lutheran sects in the country. And here they are
They
basically.
didn't sound very conservative.
No,
how you
they're
described
engaging in
them.
a
They sounded kind
engaging in
of
a-
progressive.
they're engaging in the Brown Scare, the hunt for fascists the whole thing. This is what anti-fascism, the regime ideology, is creeping in.
It just sounds like it was defending itself.
Well, in summary, this is what it says. In summary, anti-fascism is the ideology that justifies the governance of a managerial oligarchy, and this is the manager oligarchs manage is a therapeutic state. This is why, and I've
Therapeutic
highlighted this
state? Could
point.
you explain a therapeutic state?
Well, this is what Paul Godfrey was getting at in his books.
No, I know, but
Mass
what is a
democracy.
therapeutic state?
Therapeutic is the idea that the state has to constantly step in to enforce
So a
all
nanny
types
state,
of
right?
something like that.
Kind of a nanny state, but for the mind rather than for the body. Is Is what you're saying?
Yeah, the idea of like
You have to
concepts
kind
of
of
like
like what the
mental health.
the DOJ NSD's job is, right?
Yes,
The
the
Department
idea
of
of
Justice
like
National
maybe
Security Division. The CRS of the DOJ NSD, the Community Relations Service, kind of the
Mhm.
brown shirts that Obama put in charge to, enforce better racial relations, because everything's so much better now since they stepped in. Managed, the Floyd riots and the Michael Brown riots and all that, right? But they're
By
in
the way,
charge of.
guys-
They're the state's arm of managing that. Just don't do it very
Yes.
But
publicly.
guys,
All right, yeah.
Wait.
So let's just check out that article, and I'm gonna follow up on it real briefly, a little less. And
I will wait
Um,
for the sequel, and I will read both of them together. I don't want to read an incomplete piece. I want to be able to get a full look at. What's
I'll
going on.
basically. So yeah, that's just what. And then after that, I'm
But
gonna
if I'm
also do
being
another.
honest, it sounds like you're doing what they're doing, defining anything you don't like as anti-fascism, right? It
No,
sounds like
I-
you're just
I-
doing what
I
they're
sh-
doing in reverse,
No, I specifically see it as a crusading action, as like
Sure.
as the crusading part of the American civic religion.
Sure.
And I'm going to talk about that.
But I mean,
in
that's kind of like our Christian heritage, like constantly, dating and promoting itself.
one that
like,
is
that's kind of
one
what
that
we're
is
growing up
warped
doing.
and put through a reality distortion field, but there is a way to fix that. I mean, so the whole point is I'm going to do.
They've had 2,000 years to fix that and failed that, so I don't think they're gonna magically figure it out all of a sudden. Maybe I'm too investment minded that these things would have solved themselves already, but there's no will to do it, so it's not gonna get done.
guys, I wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
I have just finished another bottle of champagne.
Congratulations, Winston. Tell your mother you love her.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the other one wasn't that full the other day, but this one I worked on. I don't know. A bunch of people had it today, but now it's just me
But,
and her watching the dog
Let's
and my
let's
grandmother.
let Yellow Lantern finish his goodbye, 'cause
Oh, sorry about
All
that.
right.
I apologize, Yellow
it's
Lantern.
okay.
No, it's fine. That's the article. I follow up on this. I just some previews.
When
I'm
the
going
follow-up
to
comes
write
out,
about
I will read both, and I will make my
and
assessment.
the other articles I'm working on applying John Murray Cudahy's Ordeal of Civility to modern America. I'm gonna
you
write
give
up
us
about
like the 1,000-feet view of the ordeal of civility.
it's the refinement process for how somebody assimilates into a dominant culture.
So it's concerning what, immigration or?
Well, when Cudahy wrote that book, he talked about like Jews struggle with modernity and how when they were emancipated in the countries in Europe, they kind of experience a culture shock and culture clash.
What do you say emancipated?
this-
What do you mean emancipated?
Basically, they could own property. Like there were no
So they
more
became
restrictions.
citizens, basically.
There were no
They
more
had property
restrictions on
rights,
their.
and they could be Their property rights could be respected.
Basically, Jews would no longer be like officially discriminated as part of government policy. They could have their own professions. Like Jews, for example, were banned from like being in guilds or being in certain trade professions for fear of like loan sharking or like excessive interest rates. And with the Eastern European Jews that were in the Russian Empire, the Pale of Settlement and the Chattels.
You said
They
they
had a
had
different
all those
experience.
restrictions, and they still stayed there.
Well, because again, the average religious life of them was quite different, and
It sounds like
the whole
it sounds like a place you
Cudahy's
would
book
leave.
is
I mean,
Cudahy's
some pretty
book is
resilient
actually
people.
well, Cudahy's book is quite rare too, and I'm planning to buy a used copy, but even then, it's like $100, which I'm gonna save up some money to buy.
Find
maybe
a
I'll get it as a
PDF
brick.
of it. I mean,
Yeah, but a PDF is hard to read, and it sometimes doesn't have the citations or the notes that often help give context. And you can give like, where did Cudahy get the source from? And you could flip back to the appendix to see where he got it.
Lots of bookmarks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Hey,
lots of
it
bookmarking.
shows. It shows when someone does their research.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I will anyway. So yeah, that's what I'm also gonna do a review of the Prince of Egypt, and like
The
25
animated
years.
film, right? From not a
Yes,
Disney one, right? It's someone else. I think.
it's DreamWorks.
DreamWorks.
Apparently, there's a joke I found out. So people who were, if they didn't want to work on this, they were punished by working on Shrek.
Man.
Or they saw people who didn't want to work on this switch to Shrek, and they saw it as like a form of punishment. Which, I like to joke. One of these days, the distributors will make that Shrek video anytime now.
Is he intending to do a Shrek video?
It's been a meme that he'll never get around to doing it, despite mentioning it.
Oh, is it like kind of like it's like a running joke, I'll do my Shrek video soon, like.
Mm-hmm. Is Winston still here? Or is he getting another?
Winston, are you here, Winston? Winston!
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, yeah.
If you do convert to Orthodoxy, I know a good guy that can help you out.
Mm,
Who is that?
well,
But the Yellow Lantern? The form
Yellow
Stop.
Lantern, you're Orthodox. I thought you were Lutheran.
I'm
no,
not.
no, Yellow Lantern's the most Orthodox person I know.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
the Yellow Lantern is an expert on Orthodoxy.
I didn't know.
Well, I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I have the basics covered.
You're the most
As well.
learned person about it I know. And I know Walrus.
Yeah, Walrus is pretty good. Yeah, so I'm actually struggling to focus. I'm gonna.
Yep.
Holiday.
Memory Eternalist and Yellow Lantern 9 on Twitter? Or 13?
19.
19.
19.
Yellow Lantern 19 on Twitter. Before I let you go, any big Twitter threads recently?
Well, I did. Well, I did one actually. For Nightmare Visions excerpts from the book The Invisible Empire, which was the story of the original Ku Klux Klan from 1866 to 1871. He actually didn't have that in a thread. I just did it for him, where I'm like, okay, Nightmare Vision is wanting to do a Twitter space on the Klan, and he pulled excerpts from this book, which talked about what really happened and how it formed, but he never really put them in chronological order. So I'm like, I'm just going to take it upon myself to do it for him. I hope he appreciates it. And apparently he did, because it got a lot of views and a lot of traction. Because I helped someone...
What was your thing? Yellow Lantern
19.
18, 19?
19. Yellow Lantern 19 and Memory Eternalist on Substack.
Yeah, here, let me link you on my pinned tweet for you, so you can see it.
Oh, here you go. Yellow Lantern 19. I see you right here.
Yeah, here's the pinned thread as well, just for you if you want to read through it.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so about... Because, wasn't it more of a political movement than anything? I don't actually know too much. I haven't studied too much.
Well, it was a
Community organizing group? Would that be accurate to say?
Were you asking me?
No, I'm asking Yellow Lantern.
Well, so basically this story of how did the Klan form and why they disbanded, and it was written by Stanley
Wait, aren't
F.
they still
Horton.
around? There's a California Klan even.
Well, the modern Klan has no connection to what the original one was, and that's what Stanley makes pretty clear. That the original Klan, and it wasn't even the only count. This was a series of insurgency groups that resisted the radical Republicans and the carpetbag regimes that were employing.
Talking about the post-Lincolnian, the post-Civil War Reconstruction issues, basically.
Yes.
If I had a nickel for every problem Abraham Lincoln helped with, would have a lot of Lincolns.
Well, you wouldn't. You'd say if I had a bunch, if I had a bunch of pennies,
Oh,
because
that's
guess
right.
who's on
God
the
damn it.
penny?
I forget. Inflation has affected us all.
Yeah. Well, anyways, there's mine. And I also did an interesting thread. Hmm.
Uh,
Yep, that's all. I'm going to bed.
well, Yellow Lantern, you have a great
Night,
night.
Yellow Lantern.
I will look forward to the next article. I will try to read it on a less busy week, but I would rather wait to have the full picture, so I want to wait for your follow-up so I can read it in context.
Yes.
And then I'll have ChatGPT summarize it and read that.
You don't need to. I feel like ChatGPT will probably mess up a few of the interpretations of what I was writing about.
I want to give ChatGPT the entire Durham report and just see what it thinks.
Didn't they already do that a couple times?
I'm sure
I saw
someone's
some
done it.
people.
I
Yep.
think it would be interesting. I was doing it. My plan was to do it, and then I was like, wait, I have to give him a phone number. I'm not giving a phone number to him. That's what stopped me from doing it. I was going to, but then no. But Yellow Lantern, of course, the talented writer, author, and thinker. You can find him on Yellow Lantern 19 on Twitter, and you can find him at Memory Eternalist on Substack. Thank you for your time, and have a good one, man.
Yes.
Have a great weekend.
Good night.
See ya, Yellow Lantern.
All right, Winston. Winston,
Yes.
sir. It's time for your
Yes.
weekly berating about Ron DeSantis. I wanted to touch on something you brought up last week. You were repeating
Yeah.
the talking point that the important part is a Republican Congress, right?
What do
You
you
know,
mean?
You were saying the important thing for 2024 is to maintain a Republican Congress, right?
Well, the thing is, if Biden stays in and wins the race in 24, which and all, excuse me, which is actually likely to happen because Trump is so dividing and whatnot, and like a lot of people, including myself, have their grievances with him. He doesn't have the same momentum that was around him in 2016. So I don't think he's going to.
Well, I think the
probably
situation
win.
is not the same as 2016 either. While he was facing a relatively unknown quantity, even though, Mrs. Clinton was very unlikable, we have a very known quantity that not only do we know how he governs, we know the consequences of his governance, right?
Right.
Now, on the other hand, when you talk about a Republican Congress, do I need to remind you of what Mitch McConnell's #1 priority was in Congress this year?
Staying, keeping it Republican.
No. His #1 priority was sending money to Ukraine. He's on the record saying
Really?
that his #1 priority, and of everyone in Congress this year, is to make sure we keep sending money to Ukraine. Look up that quote. That's an actual quote. I'm not making this up.
Huh. I believe you.
Do you know anyone with a pulse that has that anywhere in their top 10? I don't think it's wrong to think that
But the
Ukraine
thing
has
is-
a right
the
to
thing
defend
is-
itself, right? I think
Right. The thing is, though, Mitch McConnell isn't, he's very far away from being like your standard Republican voter or your standard American patriot.
but he holds the
He's
most
just an
power in the
established
Senate. Is that
military.
not correct?
Correct.
Like
At-
he
for the
makes
moment,
candidates
but
win and lose. He made Kelly Shishibaka lose. Okay, so that Lisa Murkowski could keep her seat. Like this, he is the most powerful Republican in the Senate, right?
I think the most powerful Republican is probably Donald Trump. Like outside of
I know,
the
but I'm talking
Senate,
about in
like,
Congress.
In the Senate.
I'm talking about in Congress, though.
Well, I mean, who are the people that he
In the
made lose
Congress,
their
right? Because Kevin McCarthy, you could make an argument, I would say, but I would say it's probably him. He's got the established tenure. He's been there forever. Candidates win and lose based on his support, whether public or covert, right?
I don't think candidates really do that well with Mitch McConnell, unless you're talking financing wise. Financing, yeah, you can get a lot of like a sub. You can get compromises on candidates based off of what the establishment wants and or what the base wants, having them coming to a conflict and resoluting it out like through some kind of compromise. But the thing is, I
Like, I'm not saying your concerns about Donald Trump are invalid. I'm doing nothing of the sort, right? They're valid. You know, I disagreed with them on the Syria strikes. I disagreed with the bump stock idea. I think he could have handled COVID better. I think his hands were tied because of the nature of separation of powers. But, you know, we can all agree to disagree on certain things. But what I'm saying is, this talking point about keeping Congress red is going to help us. I mean, like, what concessions have we generated on the debt ceiling issue? The entire country is going to fucking default. We should have these politicians over a fucking barrel just on that alone, dude. And what's going to happen? Okay, the government's going to shut down for a few weeks, and every single government employee is going to get paid without fail. This is the same thing that's going to happens every single time, right? No one's not getting paid. Except us, of course. You know, we're going to have higher taxes. Right. We're going to have worse credit in the world. We're going to have more expensive debt to service. And the party that's supposed to be the adults in the room, what have they done? Like, I'm not saying elections don't matter, Winston. Like, I'm not, you know. I think elections do matter at the moment. You know, it's fucking dire, but somehow they do actually still matter. But I don't know. We need control over the executive branch, and we need to gut the entire executive branch. And, you know, like, everyone has to be fired. And I don't trust anyone that trusts the government in any capacity to do that. You know, I need someone that's been punished by it and persecuted by it to be the one that fights entrenched power. And if it doesn't work a second time, whatever. I tried my best, okay? I've got ammo, I've got guns, I've got time, you know? That's right. Kind of my thing, you know? And I think maybe in 10 years, if, you know, Ron DeSantis is a good governor for another 10 years and proves me wrong on things, yeah, I'd be happy to support him in election. But as of now...
He has been dropping the ball quite a bit recently. I will give you
Jacksonville,
that.
The Jacksonville situation. Did you see that?
What happened?
Jacksonville flipped red to blue, the mayor.
Really?
Yeah. The mayor of Jacksonville was beaten by a Democrat. While Ron DeSantis was going around the world on his national tour to try to be president. Like, that affects real people at home. Right? Like, that's what should be his concern. Even if he's running for president, right? He hasn't technically, I mean, let's be honest, he's running for president. Like, it's we know he's running for president, right? We're not children. We get it, right? But like, these are important things that he could have done in addition to his, you know, globe-trotting and going around the world and having fun. Like, he could have done those things and still campaigned hard for that seat. But, you know, he had a book tour. He had like all these other things he had to do that, you know, that don't really affect Floridians' lives. So for me, that's concerning, because it seems like he's focused more on himself than he is on the office, you know? I don't know. But I guess my point is he's not ready for prime time yet. But that doesn't mean he can't be ready for prime time, right? Like, if he spent all of his time...
You know, I would agree. He's probably not ready for prime time, but I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out, like, totally. The thing is, though, like, I really can't get behind Trump anymore, so we're probably gonna have to find some kind of...
But can you really not get behind him? I mean... Like, I understand, he let you down. He failed you. Like, let's not mince words, right? He did absolutely fail you. I agree with that.
Right.
But I don't think we can just let that be. I don't. There's, you're not at a place where you can just throw them out, I don't think. Does that make sense?
No, I don't know. I just don't think we have anyone. So,
well, yeah, but
I don't know.
But I think we have a chance. I think we have a chance. I think we have a chance with him. It's not a great chance, but I think it's a chance. And at the end of the day, it's kind of all I'm asking for. Is I need. I think we need some hope, right? Does that make sense? He's not perfect, but he's what we have. And he reaches across party lines, and he gets people in the party that would not otherwise be in the party.
How does he reach across party lines? Like, he's a very divisive figure.
Right, but for the higher information voters, there are people that see that he's the only one standing for economic nationalism, right? Like, literally, no one else in politics is standing for economic nationalism. At all. Like, 100% fact. Everyone else is genuinely, either covertly or overtly, globalist, anti-American in their politics, right? Pro-cheap labor for corporations, pro-corporate, anti-American worker. Like, that's just clear. Like, most people can see that, right?
That he's more focused on the American worker?
Yeah. He's more focused on actual Americans because he has special reasons why he does not have to raise money as other candidates do. He has to suck less dick, basically.
I don't know, like, even when he was, like, even when he was, like, president, like, well, I guess was what he had to deal with, the Democrats and the Rhinos and the,
well, if you remember, he had both houses of Congress, and who fought him harder than anyone?
His own party.
His own party! He was offering them victories they had promised voters for how many years? And he was saying, look, I will sign whatever piece of paper you bring me, okay? Because this is what I was elected to do. And what did John McCain do with his dying vote? What did he define his entire legacy as?
He continued Obamacare.
Yeah. After years of saying, oh no guys, this is so bad and terrible, we have to get rid of it. Oh, don't worry. Had the opportunity. Had one guy who was like, hey, look, man, I will offer you this. I'll give you the W you've been asking for years, and been voting on, mind you, that you would take for years. And, come on. You really think that he just went up there and was like, oh, I just decided all of a sudden not to do it? He had to have permission. That's how politics works. You don't get committee assignments if you do anything that the head of your party doesn't want you to do. You break the rules, you get punished, right? You get removed from committees, you have shit happen to you. Like, there are consequences for these things. And he completely did that with no consequences. And people are supposed to just sit back and be like, oh, he's a venerable senator, that's well-respected. What the fuck are these people talking about? What? That's not how politics actually work. Look, I think the situation is not ideal. It's not where we would like to be, obviously, right? But I think we have to work with what we have. And unfortunately, love him or hate him, he's what we have left. And, keeping your quality candidates on the bench right now, I think is a good idea.
And I don't know about that. I think he might have been compromised, but hold on one second, I just have to get some.
Okay, Tony. Is okay, Tony. We're gonna make it. We're all gonna make it, Tony. And also, Tony, I asked in that Discord, and I need a green Janny to get back to me. I don't hold a ton of sway, but I am asking. Trying, Tony. I don't want to let you down.
Okay, I'm back. I'm on the other end of. I heard on the other end. You wanted to get back into Discord. What Discord are you trying to get back into?
One of the what's it called? A mutual friend of ours, but it's fine. But yeah, no, yeah, you know, is it possible he's compromised? Maybe, but like any more compromised than any other politician? Like, I mean, is any politician going out there after a mass shooting and saying we have to stop these SSRIs? Or these harmful psychotropic drugs that everyone's getting over, you know, prescribed? Like, is anyone questioning that? Like, what's the baseline for an uncompromised politician? Like, you know?
Hold on 1 second. My ear pods are getting low. Hold on one.
Sure.
Sorry, so you asked, is he any more compromised than anyone else in politics?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't mean to sound more hopeless, but like, you know, like, this is kind of like the standard operating process in politics, as far as I've understood. You know. Like, I guess here's what I say. I assume by default politicians are compromised, and I will be very happy when I see one isn't. But, you know. It's, you know, we're not in a great situation. But,
well, I would agree it's not an ideal situation. I think the thing is I'm sorry, I'm really very, very tired. So I guess you have me for another 8 minutes, and then like I gotta call it. But the thing is, I could either like lower my not values, but standards so much as to go back to Trump, who betrayed the 1-6 prisoners, who issued in Operation Warp Speed and all these things to lock down the country. Or I could just, you know, avoid. I would probably vote for RFK Jr. over Donald Trump.
that's, you're in a pretty dark place, my friend.
Well, you know, he has everything right when it came to the vaccines and when it came to locking down everything. And, you know, a lot of other countries just kind of followed America's lead. The thing is, he's not great on a lot of social issues. He's not
Social
great
issues,
on everything.
climate change. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more damaging baggage. Like, yes, he did go out and say, you know, oh yeah, this is being used for this. Like, yeah, we know that, man. But like, you know, he refuses to say the truth about it, which is, you know, most of this is a scam to push authoritarianism, right? Right, he still has to accept the central lie of it all, but, okay. I don't think, like, I don't think RFK Jr. is a good alternative at all. You know, even if you got RFK, let's say we're in fantasy world, right, Winston, and 2016 repeats, but for RFK Jr., right? What's Congress gonna do? What's Congress gonna do?
Well, he'd have to work with the Democrats, who are honestly more traitorous than the Republicans. But the thing is, he would have a lot of Republican support based off of a lot of the things that he has said and done over the years, and what he would probably do as president. So he could be a real ticket splitter in that. The only thing that would be going against him would be establishmentarians and progressives.
Oh, what percentage of politicians do you think are establishmentarians? I'm honestly curious. What do you think? What's the percentage of establishmentarians out there?
Probably anywhere from 87 to 93%.
Remind me how democracy works.
We live in a republic.
Do, but it's a democratic republic, right? We are represented by politicians, and they vote democratically. So you've got a guy. He supports policies you agree with, right? And you know, there are popular policies that many people agree with. However, your representatives do not agree with those policies, right? You have 9 out of 10 of them going out there and being publicly and privately against these policies. Like, are you gonna get anywhere?
That's where he would have to compromise and
then in 4 years, you'll be saying the same thing. Oh man, I support RFK Jr., but he's compromised and he betrayed me on everything. I thought he was gonna be base, and he was. I mean, like,
you can add line items to bills that give people benefits for certain states who are going to go and vote for the bills that you'll sign. So kind of like pork barrel spending, or like line items, or means tested programs or something like that can go into people that can be attached onto a bill that the president will sign.
Just influence buying business as usual.
No, because the chunk of the legislation, the heart of it, would be things that would benefit the country. So, look, I'm not saying he's the greatest candidate ever, but I'm saying...
I know you're not. I perfectly understand that that's not what you're saying. Don't let me misconstrue that that's what I'm saying you're saying. No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just thinking that we're just going to be back exactly where you are now. You know. And... I don't know. I'm a ride or die guy. Like, I understand Trump's not perfect, but, you know, he's my dude, and I'm riding with him. And I think he makes mistakes, but he's the only politician I trust. You know, I trust Rand Paul, but I know he can't get anything done. You know, but I trust him. You know, I think he has a good heart, and he actually does care about the country. And that's more than I can say about most politicians. You know? There's a few outliers. But, you know, for me, that's enough. You know? Is it gonna work out? Fuck it if I know. But I'll take my chances. No. I would say give the guy another chance. I'm not saying anoint him God Emperor and draw 40k memes with him. I'm just saying, like, I think he's our best chance in the near term for this to not end violently. And that's what I would prefer, you know? I would prefer peaceful resolutions for what we have going on, because, you know, I don't want to shoot anyone. You know, I would like people to grow old, be happy, and live happy lives. And, you know, I don't know. There are worse choices out there. But, you know, I understand how betrayal works. I mean, remember a certain cat boy? Winston?
Yeah, yeah, I do, but I do have to get going though. Like
I
I
know.
am
I'm
very
just
sorry.
saying, don't make RFK Jr. your new Catboy. Okay.
I would not. He's definitely a flawed character, but I don't know. I think I would probably vote for him over
But
Trump. I
be
don't
honest,
know. Or I'd write.
you used to think Catboy had a good character, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just
Uh, it was a stupid beliefs. I was in a cult, but but the thing is, I was in a cult. How do you know you're not in a cult?
me? How do I know I'm not in a cult? You're saying a cult for Donald Trump?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, like, you know, I support the guy, but, you know, I'm not like, wow, it's so based he bombed Syria, or wow, I totally agree with his bump stock ban. Like, I don't give religious reverence to anyone, you know? What I see is, when I see the opposition and pushback from people that I actively despise, you know, like what are they called? The Paul Ryans, the Jeb Bushes of the world, the Rupert Murdochs. When I see the level of, like, treating this man like a vampire, like he is Satan incarnate, to me, that's a hero. Okay? I guess I could tell, I judge him by having the right enemies. And he has the right enemies, you know. But people of the world that despise him, you know, I like to see that. And, you know, I take more stock in that than what some whiny television news show host says about him. But, I don't know, I would say, if you have any sway with anyone in the DeSantis campaign, just tell them, just wait, manage Florida successfully, bring prosperity for your citizens, give them happy lives, because you have the leeway to make so much more impact on the people of Florida's lives than you will ever have as a president. Like, ever. Like, it's a fact. The governor will have so much more impact on making people's lives good in his own state than he would as president. I would say just advocate, finish your term as governor, and then in 2028, no matter what happens in this next election, you're in an amazing position to take the national stage and, you know, run a very successful campaign. Plus, you have time to, like, appoint a successor and ensure that, you know, policies you put in place are still good. Like, there's just so many reasons he should stay in Florida. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm glad you sound like you had a good Mother's Day. I'm glad to hear you're still jovial and happy. You know, that's all we want. We want people to be happy. And I hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, I will see you. Should I shout out my stuff? I don't
Please
really
do.
have that much
Where
to
can
shout
people
out.
find you, Winston?
On the Fediverse, racist Call of Duty lobby. I'm not racist, by the way.
I know. I get the meme.
Racist Call of Duty lobby at POA .st. That's post. And what is my Twitter? My Twitter is
You are Winston, the anime VTuber extremist, I think.
hold on. Oh, I'm on Twitter at Weeb Extremist. So there you go.
Yes, you can catch Winston sipping for Pippa Pipkin and various other VTubers.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's because politics is a woman, you know?
You know, can I tell you my darkest secret, Winston?
What?
I don't really care for Pippa Pipkin.
Oh, I love Pippa. Pippa's
Like, I'm not like someone who's like, oh, I hate Pippa. I just like, whatever. I'm gonna be honest. I like my VTubers to not be very politically involved. You know, and I'm not saying Pippa's overly political. It's just like, I get it, schizo-based bunny girlfriend, whatever. But like, that's not why I watch VTubers. You know.
No, I gotcha. I just think she's funny. She reminds me a lot of Mr. Medicare, so that's why I watch her.
Yeah, she's funny sometimes. But yeah, it's just like me, I can't be like, oh shit, there's a Pippa Pipkin stream, you know. Like me, it's like, oh shit, Gura's watching episode 4. That I'm down for.
You see, Gura has never done anything for me. Like I really do not. Yeah, I don't
I
know
just
why.
think she's
but I'm
sweet
just
and
not a
fun to
girl guy.
watch, and you know,
Yeah,
to use a cursed term, comfy.
comfy.
I know people have corrupted that term to such a degree. Me, it's just, you know,
No, you're thinking of cozy. You're thinking
cozy.
of cozy.
No, I'm not even talking about like you know, Catboy and his crew. I just mean like, yeah, people would be like, comfy means you only repeat the orthodoxy of the regime is the term Yellow Lantern would be used for that, you know. But
Oh, okay.
yeah. Oh, you're
Yeah.
not comfy. Like, okay.
All right. Either way, I have a lot to do tomorrow.
Oh, actually,
so
I
gotta
have a stream to shout out. Me.
Oh yeah.
So on the 23rd, this Tuesday, me, my friends Hota and Shiromi Arena will be playing Outlast Trials at 6 a.m. Pacific time. So that'd be 9 a.m. Eastern. But we're gonna torment my friend. She's promised to play Outlast Trials for 2 hours. So that'll be a fun little collab stream we're gonna do. They're both great. They're both great, fun VTubers. And looking forward to that because it's gonna be fun. So
All right, I'm writing that down. The Ghost VTuber. Hold on. I'm gonna write this down. VTuber. I don't know if I will be awake at this time, but
that's fine. I just wanted to put that option out there for you if you had time.
Outlast stream at 9 in the morning, 9 a.m.
Yep, 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Eastern. So 6 a.m. my time, 9 a.m. your time.
See,
Problem
okay.
with having friends
Alright, I
in
wrote that
Southeast
down.
Asia. Okay.
All right. I will see you then. Maybe I'll be on next week, hopefully a bit earlier. And hopefully the
Yes.
dog will be adopted by then. But
Oh,
I
and you
will
are. I would
see
like to
you-
say you are very blessed for helping this doggo.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. That's
That
very
is
nice.
a
Yeah, he's a
that
good
is
boy. I like him.
wonderful. That is wonderful of you to do that.
Ah, thank you.
Because
Anyway,
dogs,
I gotta head out,
dogs are
but-
magical. All right, Winston.
Yes.
You have a great
Anyway,
night, man.
I gotta head out, but it's been fun. I will see you later.
I'll
Bye.
see you later too, Winston. Bye. All right, folks. That's all in the books for Coast to Ghost. We're going to stop the stream for 5 minutes. I'm going to order some food, and I will restart the stream. So don't go anywhere. Do not touch that dial. I'm just going to do it so we can separate out this episode of Coast to Ghost on its own. And I'll probably be back with some more Minecraft. I may play some other games. I don't know. Maybe play some Dead Island. We'll see what we feel. But thank you all tuning in for another wonderful episode of Coast to Ghost. Thank you, Geeky. Thank you, Yellow Lantern. And thank you, Winston. And everyone that tuned in as well. Tony, Cobalt. This was a fun conversation. I'm really happy we've done more than 2 years of these now. I know we've taken a lot of weeks off, but we're going to try to keep these going regularly. So, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to segment the stream. So this is kind of cut out on its own. And I will be right back.